Greetings, salutations, and other big words. My name's Ethan. My handle is Wrangler. Welcome to Frequency Studios. There's another episode of the Weekly Wing It, where we're open topic, wherever the conversation leads, off on a tangent, whatever, it's good to go. And in the comments, that means give us ideas of what you want us to talk about. And if we actually think we know something about it, then we will open our mouths and stick in our feet for your entertainment. My co-host with me today, James Esparza. James, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me back. It was fun last week, and I'm sure it's going to be even better this week.
And also we have Maji Chan. Maji, is this your first time on the show?
This one, yes.
Maji Chan. Okay. I know we've been on a show together before. I don't know if you've ever been on this channel though.
No, not this channel. It was with Royce when we did ISOM.
That's right. Hey, so first show of 2023, you are on. And also with us is Raven Nevermore. Raven will probably be available in a moment. He is already hooked up. So when he's good to go, he will pop in and say hi. Also in the chat, Kiko Man. He is always lurking around, ready to make the show a little more fun in one way or another. Show me, show you, Kiko Man. Herman P. Hunters, the Lord Forge,
hey, Kiko.
says, yo, Billy Bob Sack. He'll be stopping by. Awesome. Good to see you down there, Billy. So, Happy New Year, everybody. How y'all doing?
Doing pretty good, a little tired, but I am energetic and ready for the show, dear sir. I've had a wonderful day today, a very productive day today, and I got many more productive days to come.
Awesome. Productivity seems to be in order. So you're still going hard at work on World Without End, and I guess you've got a lot set up coming soon on that.
Absolutely. I mentioned before the show that I've launched a Substack today. That's worldwithoutendlore.substack.com if you want to check that out. I am working on a short story that I'm going to release on Substack. It's going to be lovely. Again, it's going to be one of the best short stories you've ever read, breaching science fiction and fantasy, although this one's pretty hard fantasy because it's kind of like in a heavy fantasy realm, but it's coming up with a science fiction story afterward with a hint of horror. So, if you want short stories that cross genre and yet are encapsulated in the same world, you're definitely going to want to check out worldwithoutendlore.substack.com.
And your world is definitely a master of the cross genre. That is no doubt. I really like how you blended all those. And then, and Maji, what have you got going on lately?
Nothing really. Just working right now. Trying to figure out where I could make a dent in the Iron Age, but so far nothing really comes to mind other than reading stuff and reviewing.
That's cool. Who's reading what right now? Anything good?
Black Knight sent me his anthology. So I'm reading that right now. It's actually kind of cool because what it is a bunch of short stories from his Star Shatter that expands the universe a little. That didn't fit into the main novel sets. And what's also nice is at the end of it, he's got this big glossary that goes and explains like the tech and stuff he uses. So say if you want to know what an environmental reverberator is, you can actually look it up and it'll tell you more in details about that particular device, so it didn't throw off the flow of his stories.
I'm going to have to look into that. I didn't even know about that. I had just finished up the Rifles song myself. So far I've read Star Shatter, the first book, and I read the Rifles song. I have not started Twin Sons of Corolla yet. And I just started with the Watcher of the Dam series, Transmutation Texas by R.H. Snow. So I'm checking that out now. I'm about a tenth into that. Actually, 11% specifically. You get very particular updates on how far along you are when you have the ebook reader.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
technology sure makes it
Yes.
easier for stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
I asked
and it's
somebody
kind of
how
cool
far they
just
were
reading
into
the
a book
short
once.
stories.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go for it.
All right. Yeah, I it was like I think last year I asked somebody how far into a book they were, and they said I'm at 47%. I was like, that's oddly specific, and
So is
she's
my
like,
battery.
oh yeah, well it tells me right here how far into the book I am on my ebook reader. I was like, I didn't even know that was the. I mean, I knew they were ebook readers, but I wasn't used to that. Now I'm using one. So, did you guys hear about Jeremy Renner today?
I heard the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, he. I guess he was in some kind of accident with a snow removal machine, and last I
Yeah.
heard, I haven't been following it close, but last I heard, he still is in critical condition but stable. But you know, first to him and his family, that's a horrible thing to happen to anybody. He was. I guess he was thrown. I still don't. I don't know the details, so I could just be spouting off completely wrong nonsense here. But I guess he fell out of it and got his leg run over by it or something. But it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
basically
goodness.
like getting run over by a truck.
Overlord Fluffy said snowplow.
Yep. Hello.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
how's it going, Raven? Happy New Year, man.
Yeah. Happy New Year's, guys.
Hello.
It is a new year, isn't it? I almost forgot. Because it seems
Yeah.
so much like the last one. But, that's just me, I'm sure.
Well, we're only 2 days in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just wait. It'll gain its own set of here we go agains. We have incoming. Hey, Trippy. Happy
Oh,
New
guys.
Year.
he is.
Happy New Year. How's it going?
Pretty
Hey,
good.
Trippy.
How's the
Oh, yeah.
poetry coming along?
It's not.
Really? That's not what I ever expected to hear out of you. I thought you just I thought poetry was kind of shed from your skin like cells everywhere you went.
Yeah,
All over the floor.
but it's in the back of my head, but in order to be inspired to write it down as something, you can't force it. You can't force poetry. It has to just kind of naturally come along. I notice anything I try to force does not work. So unless if I find something I'm specifically inspired by that I know could kind of make into a poem, I'll do it. Until then, I can't just sit there and crank it out. Unlike a writing where you have to
Yeah.
have your story go along and you actually
Yeah.
see it and it's going along and you got to visualize it and it's constant. Mine's a little more.
Yeah, I was in grind mode today, trying to get through a certain point. I was like, oh, I'm in a transition spot, and I need to get from here to there, and it was a long, slow. Do a couple of lines in the paragraph. Could do a couple more lines.
Oh, yeah.
Backspace through those lines and start over. It was a whole bunch of that today.
Well, that's good. That's productive. All I
But
did today was
did
laundry.
finally get there.
Good. What else are y'all talking about?
Oh.
Just finished I guess you could say, hearing about or discussing the Jeremy Renner accident, I suppose.
Oh, I saw on Instagram the little thing that he got in some snowmobile accident, but I didn't look into it. What happened?
He got ran over by a snowmobile or snowplow, apparently. His own snowplow somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't have details, and
he said he was
guess-
critical but stable condition.
yeah, I guess the likely speculation he was thrown from the machine and actually it went over him, got his leg. But,
Well, that sucks.
yeah, it's not a fun way to start the new year.
Let's
No.
hope that's not too much of a life changer.
Yeah, well, it was that yesterday morning, I think that happened.
I think so. I heard about it this morning,
Okay.
right before I went to work, and then disappeared from the world until I got the message that it was time to crawl out from my creator's corner and hop on this lovely show of ours here.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
New Year's started really weird for me. It literally started downpouring at midnight.
Oh
Like-
yeah, same over here.
Yeah, it's weird. We got to. I don't know if you saw in the news. There's flooding up in Sacramento and stuff. A couple people actually died up there.
Ooh,
Crap ton of rain.
Oh goodness.
yeah. I
pray
just
for his family.
right on, yeah, dude. Seriously.
Yep.
I woke up and they just told me it rained last night, and it had to be late because I was out there pretty late, hanging out with the neighbors for a little bit, and then I head in and I wake up and then it had rained. I'm like, what the hell?
I was like, is this an omen? It's gonna be downpouring. It's raining all 2023.
Well, I'm pretty sure you didn't get hit with a snowblower.
So you guys are who was it that said earlier on the forums that they were looking through Shad's stuff about the AI art argument?
Twas not I, but he definitely did make like a 40-ish min video. I went halfway through. He's pretty sporadic at times and hard to keep up with, but my slow mind, so I was like, okay, I can take about 25 minutes of this.
Yeah, I watched that. I wanted to go back and watch the beginning of it because he said some things at the beginning and then he said other things at the end. Some of them were kind of good, but it's one of those things
Basically,
where
yeah.
we don't really have any laws around this yet, and until we get something, people will be arguing both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing there is there is an emotional component to it where people
heavy
are
emotional
starting to
component.
worry that you're going to make human talent obsolete with this kind of stuff. And I don't think that's the case, but
It's going to make lazy talent obsolete.
Yeah.
There is that
I mean,
that thing like the cars replace the horse and carriage.
But we still have horses and
well,
carriages.
look at okay. So, for example, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my thingy wasn't telling me it was working. One of the things I'm concerned about with like AI art, look how cursive's been replaced in schools. Most schools no longer teach it because keyboarding is more important. I have a feeling it's going to be used as an excuse to cut another program out that is actually kind of important and fun so that it can focus more on tech.
Yeah.
I was surprised to hear that when I found out people don't know how to write cursive anymore. I was like, really?
No,
And
they haven't taught it in about 10 years now.
yeah, so every once in a while I go and I write in cursive just to remind myself I can do it. And actually, the last time I tried to do it was like a couple months ago. I sat down to write something and I started writing in cursive, and it took me a minute to remember. It'd been so long. I was like, people don't know how to do this at all anymore. That's just odd to me.
I do it
Anyway.
for fun sometimes.
Royce says, do
Yeah,
not
I'm
ask
kinda
for
with
more
him on that
laws. The
one.
government will make you regret what you asked for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My fear is actually that because, as we all know, the corporations get louder mouths and get the biggest portions of our politicians' ears. And I think as soon as it affects them, however it may affect them, is essentially what the law is going to be, to keep their stranglehold on whatever industry they're worried about losing their stranglehold on. And personally, right now, in the form of artists, there's plenty of artists that are being mistreated or never given a chance because of the current industrial systems we have in place. I think I heard Razorfist actually mention it a couple times, where he talks about how these fanboys are better artists than the people they're fans of, and they go to show them off their work at a comic book convention to their heroes, and their heroes see that this is a better artist than I am, and then they just rip their work apart in hopes to destroy their dreams on the spot and get rid of future competition.
Yeah.
So I just they cry
what's
efficacy, but they cry efficacy. That's the number one thing I hear is it's ethics. What about the ethics of it all? I've never ran into a professional field that was ethical.
No,
Yeah.
even as an electrician, trust me, we call it cheating. We cheat. We have a code book. We got to follow the codes, but sometimes it's easy to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
But we know the
Yeah.
safety. We know what's going to cause fires and what's not safe and what's acceptable. Some of it's just government regulated coding, just like stuff like MC, that metal cable that you see that runs between lights, has to be strapped above that office T grid, that ceiling grid. It has to be strapped every 6 feet, like secured. But if I'm doing like a new power run and it's not going to get inspected, I'm not going to waste time strapping it every 6 feet. I'm just going to run it the 100 feet I got to run it and finish my job and go. I mean, I'll do it my best I can so it's not laying across the T grid, but I'm going to cheat, Ethically, is that
Efficiency.
okay? Yeah, there's no consequence. It's all about the consequences.
Yeah, I've
Welcome, Billy Bob Stack.
What up?
Yeah, Billy, that's what I was going to say. The only time I use cursive is when I'm signing my checks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really don't like cursive. I can write it, but I just don't like it. I have
Yeah.
bad handwriting anyway.
I don't know. I think
Really?
a well-written hand letter or card is kind of important occasionally.
Yeah,
I agree.
indeed.
But what's weird is I wrote in cursive for years and I've always hated my handwriting. And then I switched to print just to see how it would come out. I was like, this looks much neater than my cursive.
Mhm.
So I've been using that when I handwrite for the last few years. And it surprised me how I had to actually stop and think for a few minutes when I first started to try to write cursive again, that I did not quite. Yeah, it took me a minute to get going.
Yeah.
And it's like I had to knock the rust off or something.
Mind you, I can write in cursive and I can read cursive no problem. I just don't like using it.
Mhm. I know. It's just one of those fundamentals, though, that I think, in all honesty, that's what the AR art is going to do. It's going to replace all of the actual physical art in the classrooms so people could go quote unquote tech, and then they won't learn how to do it for themselves. Because I don't know about you guys, but art was my favorite class in school. I intentionally redid my entire curriculum so I could take an art class every year in high school.
Now, there's
And I
an
still
interesting little.
graduated with 21 college credits.
There's an interesting little dichotomy happening in the chat here. Herman P. Hunter's the Lore Forge says, "I always sucked at cursive, so I'm not I'm not at all upset it's going away." Versus Kikoman. Personally, I'm happy about the cursive stuff from my end. Hard to learn English from Hebrew, let alone. Oh, okay. I misread it at first, thinking it was like I thought he was first saying he liked cursive.
Yeah,
But
no. All in agreement. Cursive sucks now. No, that's if I'm gonna write something, it's got to be handwritten because I would like the people to read what I'm writing. You're not gonna be able to read my cursive. I'm like, what the heck is that letter? Oh, look who's here.
John Delarose says,
JDA.
show me, show you. Kikoman.
Good stuff. Yeah, no.
I think Kikoman has to be the most popular internet personality that doesn't have his own show.
Don't show yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Yes.
to a day where he has.
It'll be also
Yep.
I fear and hope for that day. Kiko Man show. I'd watch
Strong
it.
words from James Craig. Cursive is useless.
Actually,
Change
Crazy
my
is
mind.
right.
Cursive
Crazy's right
is-
though. Handwriting actually really does help with dyslexia.
Does it really?
Oops, dropped my phone. Yes,
I've never
handwriting,
heard that before.
art, all of that. In fact, that's actually what kind of helped me learn how to read was the comics, because the way they separated out the handwriting or the words and stuff, so it wasn't so overwhelming. And then going and slowly writing it over again to help, like with say girl and grill, those get so
Mhm.
mixed up.
How about trying to spell restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Can't do that.
I hate that one. And
Right.
and half the
I've
day I
mastered
spend
it.
going back and fixing reversed letters in my typing. I'm like, how did I keep doing that again? Oh, and I now see Maji was just ahead of me in the chat because there it is. There are studies out there that show that
Yes.
cursive handwriting helps with dyslexia. Curse of handwriting.
Curse of handwriting.
Stop using
Royce, are you
cursive
using
text,
voice to
Royce.
text?
Damn!
Curse of
Damn it!
handwriting.
Oh, damn this! Shit.
Hey,
Yep.
remember when we
Yeah,
were
I know
making
that.
fun of him, Trippy? Because he was having to say period throughout his entire backstory in parentheses.
Yeah, so he posted the backstory for our D&D campaign, but you know how he does it? He doesn't type it out. No, he used the
Oh.
text-to-speech. So it's just this huge
Come on.
thing of word after
Period.
word after word, and sometimes it says period after the end of a sentence.
Cider hype. There's a name I do not recognize.
Cursive
Welcome to
is
the
art.
chat, Cider hype.
It's definitely becoming an art, that's for sure. It's entering the art field, which is cool. I think I got okay cursive. I could work on it some more.
So far,
Cider's got a good thing.
We used to
I
write
don't know
in
where that's
cursive.
going, but I like it.
But we also ban cocaine.
Yeah.
These two things don't appear to be related, but that's what they want you to think.
Yeah,
Did you know people who do cocaine have great handwriting?
And they're fast.
Now you
There it goes.
know. But I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into an art. Maybe that's how art forms are birthed.
Yeah, Royce.
He corrected
something.
it.
Blames
Royce,
the phone.
it's
He
not a
always
secret
blames the
phone, it's
phone.
you.
Blame the phone.
You can just join us over here, Royce. But I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
he's
know.
surrounded
And you
by
will
like
always suffer
children and stuff.
consequences.
Royce, your stream starts at in about 40 minutes, correct? You have a gaming stream tonight?
Oh, he does? Monday
I
gaming
think he
stream?
does.
After he's
thought it
been
was Wednesday.
down and out for a little while, he's got a lot of work to make up for.
Yeah.
So,
After
I think
this,
it's
I
that
need
one,
to...
that RPG game too. I always forget the
Nah.
name of it.
We need to do a Brawlhalla.
We
Brawl
definitely
go
need to
again.
Halla.
It looks like there was an update, and there's like avatar characters now.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Or he can get Dead by Daylight and we can all play that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't know
know.
about that.
I heard Dead by Daylight is cross-platform.
I know,
It
I
is.
told you.
Double layered.
Royce could be the
Interesting.
killer and we could troll him. I mean, what?
That would work. That actually would be kind of fun. Good idea.
Family
Because
time
me and,
tonight?
Me and you, Trippy, we got it on Game Pass.
Oh, family time.
One of these
Why
nights.
is he over here talking to us?
I know, right?
It's family time. I'm on my phone and they're watching TV.
Exactly. They're all in the same room.
Yeah.
That's what counts.
Well, I don't know. One of these nights, maybe we should do that. Give Billy Bobsack his Brawlhalla moment, and we all come on here and just play a game. Although I'm not sure how to. I don't have a capture card, so I can't do that yet. But if
I don't
get
know how it
one,
works.
then why not? I'll go on there and I've never played before, so Billy, you're probably gonna
Listen, you'll
scrape
do
me
better
across the
than
board.
Royce. No bar. You'll be doing better than Royce.
Or we could just do straight up Smash Bros. If you guys got that.
No, I got
Yeah,
that.
but we would all have to have a Nintendo for that.
There's Brawlhalla on the computer.
It's on everything.
Yeah, it's
Literally
cross-platform.
So,
I forget you can do cross-platform competitions nowadays.
I think PUBG is cross-platform, or maybe it's just cross-PC and Xbox. I can't remember.
I think it's just cross PC and Xbox.
I think so too.
what
I'm
do you
trying to
guys
remember back
think
in
of
the day.
IW?
Go ahead, Maji.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Maji.
What do you guys think of IDW's stocks being below $1 for almost 30 days?
It's what they deserve.
Maybe it's time to buy.
Go down
Sounds like
more.
I don't
sounds
know.
like a lot of people have the opposite reaction, which is sad.
The
Yeah,
the
multiverses.
DC multiverses one. I don't
Heard
think we
about that.
played that one, Trippy.
I've played it, but the community is kind of like the player base is pretty small, and it had terrible matchmaking, so I stopped. But if you guys want to give it a try, I'm down.
Well, that's why you can play like Scooby Doo versus Batman,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Scooby Doo versus
Yeah.
Batman versus all
Iron
those
Giant.
characters.
The
Yeah,
mini
Bring
Iron
the tongues
Giant.
in there. Yeah.
Tasmanian Devil was fun. I had fun playing that character.
Huh.
How if you could play the Tasmanian Devil, how would it be even possible to lose?
It's a video game
I mean, unless you're Bugs Bunny.
because video game.
It has to be
And it
balanced
sounds
somehow.
like it's a knockoff of Marvel vs. Capcom.
Marvel
That's
versus what?
classic.
Marvel vs. Capcom's an actual fighting game.
Oh yeah, I remember. I actually remember that. I used to go play that in the arcade.
That was great stuff.
That was great when they started off. They did the X-Men game that was based on the Street Fighter engine, and they used that to do a full Marvel game, and then Marvel
Yeah.
and Capcom, and they even threw in Darkstalkers. It was a nice big old
Yeah.
a brawl.
You remember when DC Face Planet trying to copy it with the Mortal Kombat versus the DC?
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that one.
Didn't they have some other guys in there? They had Terminator in there. They had Kratos in there.
They had a few guys.
That's
I
in the
think.
other games. That was a Kratos was a Mortal Kombat 9 exclusive to PlayStation. Terminator was for Mortal Kombat 11.
They made way too much Mortal Kombat games, in my opinion.
I mean, it's fighting games, how they always work. So you
Mario
mean you've been
Party.
getting your ass kicked by your kids in Mario Party?
See, you see, he sucks. Case in point.
I do
That's
like
all
how
right.
you have characters that should have no business being together, and all of a sudden going against each other. That is a lot of fun. I know I've mentioned it away from the show a few times, and I always find it so entertaining in my own head till Billy Bob Sack brings me back to reality about this. But Kevin McAllister versus the Predator is like the gag battle I want to see.
We had this last week. I mean,
Yeah.
in real world, Predator wins immediately.
I
The
know,
real
but
world. Well, technically, in the real world, only Kevin McAllister exists.
Yeah, it's most,
So
accurate.
he wins immediately.
How do you know there's not a Predator out there waiting to stalk your ass?
How do I know? Is that really the greatest defense of the Predator? Is how do you know? I think he loses by default. If
it
that
reminds me of an opening to Futurama episode one day. It says you can't prove it won't happen.
You can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
You can't prove a negative.
What was it, Team America?
oh gosh.
What was it, Trippy? Have you ever seen a man eat his own head? Then you
Ah.
haven't seen everything.
I haven't seen that movie forever.
Yeah, I seen it last year. Definitely still hilarious, but I'm notoriously easy to make laugh, so there's that.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
haven't seen that in years myself. I just have a habit of bringing up that theme song when I'm playing a video game and get pissed off at a boss. So I go to try it again. I start playing that song and I start fighting the boss to America.
Oh god.
Trippy, was that you against that dog? In Elden Ring?
No. That's I'm me against that dog is just cursing, yelling, and trying not to throw my controller against the freaking wall. No. Elden Ring, I am learning how to play. It will test your frustrations, your anger. It's testing like that. It's kind of why I like the game. It's really it's meta because it knows that it's pissing off the player. There's a lot of things in there that just you shouldn't win. You should not be able to beat that game, but people beat it. Most of it's getting over your own anger.
Wait until you
sucks.
meet some of the other enemies later in the game. You'll get real pissed.
No, and then you get you finally beat the guy that's pissing you off. You're like, yeah, and you feel so confident. And you go like 5 feet to the next guy. It's another boss, and it's just like 10 times as strong, and you die right away. And you're just pissed off again. That's Elden Ring. That's Dark Souls. That's from Software games. I don't know why they do that.
Worse, if it's a human-sized boss, you might as well just give up and die.
Yeah. Kevin for the win.
That's why I like online PvP games, because I can always just run away. Try to catch me.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's great. It's a great game. Yeah. Such a great game. I
The
love it.
only boss I've had to have help so far was the fucking Melina one when Trippy was in there when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I can't wait to get there. I can't even imagine myself getting there. It's like that's so beyond me. But then every time I like play this game, when I started playing, I'm like, I'm never gonna get out of this first area. I'm finally in like the third area now. It's third part of the map.
Yeah.
Hogwarts Castle, everyone calls it.
Is it an open world map,
coming
or-
out, right?
It's open world-ish. I
They
guess.
haven't
yeah, it's
announced the DLC. I think it's just they seen like a leak of a name of it.
I remember playing the game and I got way too into it for a while, and then I was notorious for always just restarting the character and just applying everything I learned to this new character to get even more badass even earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I knew it, I just like said, if I go over here and I get this weapon, and if I go over here where I'm level 1 and I just can kill this dragon that's super powerful with this weapon, I can become level 180 by the 60-minute mark. And I eventually just burnt out, stopped playing the game less than a quarter of the way through.
Just give up. Over it.
Right, just beating all the bosses really quickly.
I can imagine.
Dude, I didn't even try to give a shit about keeping my levels in check because I ain't playing PvP. Not on this character. So I believe
I barely play online.
I got to the Erd Tree and said, it's not worth getting mad over, so I just logged off and never logged back in.
Maji Chan, have you got to the Halleck tree?
Yeah, I beat the dude. Found out that the goddess was actually the problem. Went to the tree, and the stupid bouncing crystal guys with the snails pissed me off, and I hadn't logged back in.
Great.
What?
My overall
Snail
goal
dudes.
was my overall goal was like I just want to screw over everybody, and I want to get the ending where everybody loses except for me.
So the frenzy flame, where you just
Look,
burn
whatever.
everything. in
Let's do it.
existence?
Bye bye. I'm sick of all y'all trying to pull me left or right, trying to watch it all burn now.
There's so much that store in the lore that I am learning that, like, you guys are referencing stuff that's like over my head. Like, oh, eventually, maybe I'll know what you're talking about
I
once
guess.
I
I
get there.
semi
But,
kind of
geez.
know. I hear elder tree, and I'm like, oh, those glowy trees that you can go up to, and there's a boss nearby. That's like my understanding of the lore. I did watch some lore videos after, but like from what I got from the game was extremely minimal.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of the like quests and shit to actually fucking learn it. And of course, you got to read the stupid ass item
That's
descriptions.
the word, right? Yeah, you have to read item descriptions because they have bits of lore in them. And
Okay.
yeah, it's
The
go ahead.
the fucking Erd
You got
tree's evil.
bot
It
bots.
feeds off of conflict.
Yep. Thank you for the heads up there.
I mean, dating fun sounds great and all, but you know.
Kill 'em all. I think Elden Ring is gonna try to. It's not gonna try to. It is gonna change the way that stories are told in open world settings like that. Because up until RPGs, up until RPGs at this point, we've had the Final Fantasy series, very narrative, text, dialogue, cutscenes, and stuff like that, which really
Very
forces you
linear.
along the story and things unfold very naturally, similar to a movie or book. Elden Ring, it's all up to the player to figure it out. It's just here's this world, figure out what's going on here, and it's all there, but it's so in depth that
Here's
unless
a
you care
here's
about
a
the
kicker
story,
Like
for
a
you.
choose your own adventure, but with more variables.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it.
Here's
I mean, that's what I go ahead.
Maji
I got a
Chan, speak.
kicker for you guys all.
Yeah.
It's written by the same guy who refuses to finish his book series.
Oh yeah,
George
I heard
R. R.
about
Martin.
that. Yeah, it's a Martin one. I'm not too
We're going on
surprised.
almost
I
12
think that's
years
how.
now.
And that's partly of the 12 years right there was writing this.
Nah, I think he barely fucking wrote anything.
that might have also been something too.
There's
that
some
I've heard.
stuff
He
that I'm
developed
like,
the
I
lore.
can see it.
Right? He probably like sat down, talked with him. Hopefully that's all he did. Like, hey, yeah, just give us a talk. Let's develop for a
Well-
half hour. Give us your name.
The creator of like the Elden Ring and Dark Souls and shit and Demon Souls and Bloodborne, whatever, he really likes Zelda, and he really
Yeah.
likes Berserk. So
It
that's
kind
why
of
a lot
does
shit
feel
looks
like a
Berserk.
mix of those two.
Yep.
So a hardcore Zelda.
Yep.
I think one thing I did like about it is like how they really did just lace lore into every aspect of it, down to the character selection. Has little itty bits and pieces of lore in there that then just get filled in more as you go along. And I like that because that's kind of how I write my short stories, which nobody's read yet. Is I kind of just thrust right in the middle of a situation, and then I try to just introduce lore through dialogue and events enough to understand what's going on within the story, and then just kind of find a finite balance between a good linear story with a good ending and also kind of introducing you to this world with a just enough lore to kind of salt your tongue and make you thirsty for a little bit more and wondering what's going to happen next or what is this event about, because that's kind of what my stories are about, are introducing pieces of lore through events, or kind of like introducing these gigantic events through just giving you a small segment of what a singular character may be experiencing. But you'll see soon when you guys hopefully read the first short story coming out at the end of the week. It's only a couple pages long, less than 3,000 words. Really easy read, and would love the feedback.
All right, for
I
sure.
look forward to seeing it. So
Yeah,
You just
it'll
gotta
be on
this
the
weekend,
Substack.
huh?
Yes,
keep
it'll be on
shilling
the
it up.
Substack. Yes, that Substack is World Without End lore.substack.com. So check that out. Subscribe, and you'll get a lot of great content. I promise you.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pull that up.
Yeah, you should. I like it. I need to add some more stuff in there too. It's a nice little customizable enough so your page can look different from other people's pages, and
Yes, for me not customizable enough because I like you. If for anybody who's seen my actual page where I've been lore dumping for now, 100% designed by me. I use a lot of AI art and stuff, but like, I approved every little aspect that went on there, and
Mhm.
backgrounds, text, and everything. So I'm used to having large amounts of customization. So it's a little bit iffy for me going from that to Substack, but Substack has a lot more features. It's like a trusted a website, and then, it's got a lot of tools I can use. So it's a give and take.
Yeah, I just see it as another place to
Mm-hmm.
dump your works and just put out there, just refer, hey, I'm on here and I'm on here and I'm on here. So if you come across any individual that doesn't have or Substack, you can refer to your other website and vice versa,
Yes,
Not have
and
Twitter. They're banned from Twitter. Oh, go to Minds,
exactly. And on my Substack, there is a $5 subscription. With that, you actually will be getting cool shit. You'll be getting a lot of stuff about a week early. You will be getting my next story a week early, and this upcoming story, you'll be getting a printable PDF in completely formatted like a book, and you can read that on your on your tablet, or you can go ahead and print it out. But it's designed by me. It's got a little personal message in there for my $5 subscribers. So it's not just a hey, here's $5 to just support me. You're gonna get some stuff, and I am putting some work. I don't just like create something or put my work somewhere for the sake of it being there. If I'm gonna, charge for it, or if I'm gonna put my work there, I'm gonna invest a lot of time into it. So this isn't just gonna be a thing. You're gonna come here and you're gonna see a lot of cool stuff. You're gonna get a lot of cool updates, and I'm gonna try to pace myself because there's gonna be a lot of awesome stuff to share there.
Now, is this the right page I got in the screen share?
Let's see. Recommended by World of End Lord. This looks like a recommended page.
Yeah, I typed in World Without End lore.substack.com, and this is what popped up.
Yeah,
Well,
I
something
think
popped up
that-
saying to subscribe. I subscribed, and this is the screen I've got.
I think
And-
you have the overlay.
Oh, by Lord Otter. Hey,
Yeah, it's
that
Lord
guy
Otter.
sounds
Yeah,
familiar.
it's one of our guys. I'm subscribed to Lord Otter. That's probably why
Yeah,
it's
I'm
up
on
there too. I've read one or two of his works.
Yeah.
I think you should be able to X out of that screen or something because it looks like it's an overlay. Because in the background at the top, I can see recommended by World Without End Lore.
Right.
Maybe later. Maybe later.
Oh, there
Oh.
we go. That's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, it forces. It really wants you to share the stuff, which is actually good because
Yeah.
it just forced you to say, "Hey, tweet this, show to
Yeah.
everyone in the world," and that's James's work. So it's basically networking.
Yeah, so
course
that's
you do
pretty
that.
good.
Which
It
is
with
was-
it.
good. I just need to know what I'm doing before I start hitting buttons.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I always take a day to learn this stuff. And when I customize my my whole Substack, it took me a good day.
Yeah, roughly the same. I spent a portion of today doing it, and it made one post for today, so we
Now-
had something out there. That front post right there, that first one.
can
And
do
like I
this.
said, I'm using a lot of art. I'm writing it all personally, and then I'm double checking it all because I take all this extremely seriously.
So you're talking about the lore in video games. Do you think there's any video game story out there that can translate into just a good story format, whether it be TV show, movie? I mean, we've seen a lot of movies based on video games, and most of them don't do well.
Grand Theft Auto.
It's just
yeah,
about
they
any
haven't
good
done it yet.
gangster
I
movie.
think
It-
okay.
But the satire, it's the theme, the way that Grand Theft Auto handles its world, it's very satirical. It's an over the top thing
Yeah.
on the typical gangster telling.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
there's movies like it. Crank 2, High Voltage, very GTA in style, but not exactly the same. It's not like the Scarface story where this street guy rises his way up to kingpin of the city. They don't really do that. I don't know if they could. It works in you think it would? It'll be satirical Scarface, basically, is what that story would be.
Skyrim might, but then you've got the choice of which way do you go, and going the one way or the other in the TV show would throw about half the audience off and be frustrated
Mhm.
with it.
Yeah.
It definitely.
Or
has
you
to be
can
done
ignore
this
the Alliance War altogether.
True.
Yeah, and those
Just
are difficult
mention
ones
it,
to breed.
show the effects of it, and just don't pick sides.
Now, Overlord Fluffy brings up a good point.
Dead Space would work really well as a TV show or a game or a movie.
movie.
That would actually.
Okay, speaking of Overlord Fluffy, so the God of War series, in all honesty, I think that would make an awesome show. But I am scared. I am scared because the fact that it's what Amazon or Netflix that's got the rights to it. They've already admitted
Yeah.
they're going to
a wild
focus on
card.
the Norse God of War instead of starting at the beginning when he becomes God of War.
Yeah.
Because
It's
Which
more
they're
popular,
going to make
it's
it
contemporary.
terrible because they're starting in the
Being
middle
some
of the
cheap
series.
bastards is what they're doing.
Isn't the showrunner for Rings of Power running it?
No,
Really?
Or Wheel of Time? Yeah.
yeah,
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
real time. I
Yeah.
Who's
But
writing it?
Here's
Who's
the
writing
problem, though. They're
The
starting
The Wheel of
in
Time.
the
The
Norse,
Wheel of Time
so they have
showrunner is married to one of the writers on Lord of the Rings.
It's all the
Okay.
same people,
They all go to the same coffee shops.
pretty much. They all went to the same college.
Yeah.
They all have the same orgies.
Personally, one place I've actually seen games breach pretty
No,
good is
literally
in
the
novel
the
form.
one chick for the Rings of Power and the Wheel of Time are married.
There you go. They probably went to school together too. But yeah, I've actually seen there's actually a fair amount of good novels out there that are based on video games or video game universes. I remember early on one of the few actual novels I finished reading were set in the Halo universe. I read like 3 Halo books and I really, really enjoyed them because it kind of just introduced the universe in a completely different way with completely different characters and novels being primarily imagination, words on a page and you're imagining it as it's unfolding. actually having played the games, it really gives you like a second layer. Like, oh, I know exactly what this gun looks like. I know exactly what that looks like. I've been to this location, and it's actually it's. I think if you're a super big fanboy of these universes, novels is probably the way to look at and see if any of your favorite universes already got some out there, because it's just a really great format that I think is honestly making its way back.
Now, Kiko says that indie games are on the rise too.
Oh, for sure. This is like the
What
generation of
Oh, I've
indie.
seen it. Shoot.
I mean, I got one right here on my shelf. Hollow Knight. That was an indie game. I'm still waiting for Silk Song. How about it, Team Cherry?
That's what I was gonna say.
Take your time. Do it right.
Well,
Make sure it's the game you want to
okay,
release before you put it out. No rush, but hurry.
Halo has a book series, but
So here's the
they've
thing
also done
on that.
On Team Cherry.
Maji,
Go ahead, Maji.
Go for it.
we're asking you to talk. You were talking about Team Cherry. What's the thing on Team Cherry? You were saying something about the Silk Song. Nothing. What were you gonna say, Raven?
Oh, I was just saying Halo has the book series, but then they also had the TV series or whatever we're calling it
Yeah.
these days, and that was just really horrible, awful.
I didn't even watch it. I saw like one trailer, and that was it.
It's not the games. It's the games that make the people that make the games. Wait, maybe it's the games. Very inspiring.
The market. The market kind of dictates where this things go. They'll see what's popular and then keep doing it. Like Fortnite made the
Yeah.
Battle Royale popular. So now everything, well, they have Dragon Ball Z Breakers. You know, that's a kind of Battle Royale style. And then Dead by Daylight kind of made that own little.
And before that, it was
popular too.
MOBAs. Everybody
just-
wanted to come out there with MOBA
Oh
back in the
goodness,
day.
yeah.
Everything they see how well those games do, and the market just blow up for it, and they want to copy it because they want the money like that. But then when they try to get to it, the market's gone. They moved on. It's just like this fleeting thing. So Iron Age is ahead of the game. Actually, we know there's a bubble in this market, like creativity, entertainment,
Right.
Hollywood. It's all dead. But here we are, the indie creators that still going to produce stuff. We just got to wait for the market to find us at this point.
We are, the
And
market,
we
man.
need to start finding the indie game creators, because we know they're out there. We're talking about indie creators left, right. We're all talking to each other. Where are the game builders though? We know they're
Yeah.
there. How come we're not finding them? We need to find them.
From my
Most
experience,
of them
it's
get
'cause they,
snuffed out and let's go for it.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say most of them get snuffed out actually by the bigger game industries. What happens is a lot of them will submit their projects or bring them out for people to use, and the game industries are actually monitoring any kind of indie game they can. They'll either buy them out completely or shut them down so that they don't have competition.
Ah,
That's a big portion of it. That and those who are currently developing something, they have their like little corners and communities and websites dedicated to it. And like once you start developing a game, it's almost like just a put your head down and the rest of the world disappears kind of ordeal.
Talk
Yeah,
about
sure.
Overlord, Fluffy. You didn't like Master Chief's ass, Master Chief crying. What's wrong with you?
That
and
wasn't
believe
that
me,
happen?
Billy Bobsack will notice the guy's ass.
Oh, he looks.
He rumor has it he's screenshot pictures and that kind of stuff.
He's always looking for ass and balls. That's why he's got a check. He's always asking, make sure you got balls or no balls.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got one for you.
And
So,
Royce,
Yeah.
I
New
worked
Year
retail,
resolution
right?
is to get balls, but
Yeah.
it's not really a resolution since you'll never get it.
What were you saying, Maji?
Retail.
So I got one for you. So because I work retail, which we could go back to the whole indie thing, because this Christmas that was all that sold was Fortnite and indie game toys. Like Disney didn't sell at all. It was kind of crazy. But
Huh.
anyway, so I used to work electronics, and there was this kid. He had to been about 7 or 8 years old. He was trying to buy The Witcher 3 complete. And I turned to his mom because by law I have to ask because it's a mature rated game. I'm like, is it okay for him to have this game? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then I'm like, are you sure? And she looked at me and she saw my face and she's like, why? What's on it? And I'm like, oh, honey.
Oh,
This game
you're
is
one
too
of
adult
those
for
people. You
even me.
disgust me.
Yeah.
By the end of
HBO.
it,
And that when I got GTA 5 when it came out in 2013, my mother said, "Who the fuck cares?"
But your mother also knows you and
Oh,
knows
you know what?
you have a way of discerning fantasy from reality.
Well, I
You
think
do,
our
right?
generation
I'm
has.
sorry, a
I'm
6-year-old
sorry, my shit's
should not be
lagging,
watched
so
or
it's a bit
playing
hard
that
for me to talk.
game.
They're talking at the same time.
6-year-old should not be
GTA
playing that
Vice City.
game. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
6-year-old.
sorry, I was playing
What did I do?
GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas.
When I was 10, I was playing StarCraft, which, if you go back and watch those cutscenes from the original StarCraft, there's cursing. It's graphic. I played Duke Nukem when I was like 11, something like that. It's a little bit older age. But we're at this weird generation where we didn't have good graphics on games like this.
And
It
they didn't have
this
sex
type of
scenes in
development.
there
So
either.
Yeah.
there was no really like mature rating
Yeah,
when I was 2
Witcher
years
3
old.
is almost borderline adults only.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
HBO. It's basically HBO, the video game.
Yeah. No. And it's bad on parents. They really need to know what they're buying for their kids. They can't just
Yeah.
be this type of parent that just puts their kid in front of a TV and fucks off and lets the TV raise the kid. That's a horrible mentality.
But
And then
here's the thing:
kid just goes,
so
"Here, I want
many
this game." Okay,
parents
it's a game.
don't know what's in video games.
Well, all they have to do.
And
Like,
you-
have a
you'd be
phone.
surprised what
That's a good
people
point.
don't
Google
realize
it.
mature is.
Yeah.
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 She
go-
could pull out
go
a
and
phone
Google
in
it.
5 minutes, figure out the game.
And I think that's also maybe by design of the industry itself. They don't want parents to know what's in these games. They want them to buy them for their kids and forget them in front of the TV.
Well, yeah. That pay to win stuff, the Fortnite. I think Royce just covered it recently, and they have a credit card on file. My stepsister is 9 years old, and my dad's told me, yeah,
My mother
she
knew what was
bought
in it.
like $200 worth of stuff for Roblox, just like customization stuff, because he was dumb enough to put the card on file, and she just does it. She doesn't know.
Yeah, the
But
kids, they
I'm
don't
like, that's
understand that.
The internet's doing
what's
some
funny
funky
was-
stuff here.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it is.
for indie
I'm
games,
barely hanging on.
we've had Banished in the past, and that's done fairly well, but it's no longer new. And then there's also Star Sector I've played, which has been out for, well, I think it's in beta. It's either an alpha or beta, but it's been out like maybe 10 years because they're working on it. And as people play it, they got ideas and stuff, and they write the developers and tell them, hey, here's this new idea or something, and then they try to implement it and such. But it's been a long time in coming.
don't know what that was. Something just decided to boot me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the internet went all funky like a moment before you guys dropped off too. It was like on my end, like everybody kind of froze for a minute and then
Huh.
did that weird funky thing where I heard your voice kind of bits and pieces, and then everybody moved really fast to catch up to the audio.
Yeah.
And Kiko
Yeah,
Man, no, you're not the only one. Sorry. You are unique, but not on this
I
one.
left
All
something
right.
for y'all in the private chat.
That's silly.
Oh,
I left
jeez.
something for y'all in private chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can say that on YouTube. Definitely can't say that on YouTube.
I should laugh
Funny.
at that.
But that's
No,
an
but
accurate
it-
description
like
of what
we
the
were
internet was
saying,
doing. Though. Go ahead, Maji.
It baffles
To be
me.
fair, it's been storming.
It really. It it really baffles me because how many times I've had to explain to parents what M means, but then you got like Skyrim is the same rating as
Mhm.
Witcher, but in all honesty, Skyrim shouldn't be a rated M game
Well, not now.
because of the fact that
I mean,
Nah, not now.
the
Yeah,
name of it
compared
sounds
to-
like a punchline.
Probably what the blood and
Maji-chan,
the
there's rape insinuations. There's constant swords and hilts.
But there's
Yeah,
no straight nudity. You can't be
There's
naked.
levels
There's
of
always
things.
it's covered up.
yeah,
Well-
like The Witcher. You know that stuff that goes full blown like
With mods.
adult.
It's adult.
Yeah,
Adult.
like they should really just have like, hey, you're gonna get tits and ass in this one. You know, put that right across the bottom. Adult game kind of is if you think about it.
But this is a good point. Like when video games were a big deal when I was a kid, obviously. But
Mortal Kombat.
all this stuff, Mortal Kombat was like
started it.
the most
Yeah.
graphic thing you could find out there.
Whoops.
And even that was just looked really goofy. Nowadays, people might not be realizing, hey, no, this isn't all kid stuff in here. Just because it's a video game doesn't mean it's for kids. And it's the same thing that happened when people would, and we've all been guilty of it from time to time for the most part, would just put their kids in front of the TV and walk out of the room without realizing what's really being shown to them on that TV. And it starts off subtle, and over time they push in more and they push in more.
Yeah.
And next thing you realize is like, my kids are watching what? And
Family Guy?
yeah, so yeah, Family Guy,
South
love that
Park.
show. Don't want to put kids in front of it though.
Yeah, well, I think there
Ew.
was big connotation with cartoons, like coming from like the 80s and 90s, that cartoons are kid stuff, not realizing that they started out in the 20s or 30s as like the in between movies thing,
Mhm.
and they were very adult oriented,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's kind of gone back that way again with the evening cartoons.
Rick and
Um,
Morty.
yeah. And so it's like you got to know what's going on with the specific things you're letting the kids watch.
Mic problems?
Huh? No, I coughed.
Oh,
The mute button for my mic.
oh, that's okay. It's a
I
weird
didn't
spot
want to
for it.
cough into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I played Grand Theft Auto at 10, but that was on the PC top-down perspective, and when you ran over
Yeah.
a civilian, it
Where you
was like a
could
little
fart.
red. Yeah, there's nothing, but it had all the language in there. All the
All I
language is
know
still
is
there.
up, down, left, right, B, A, start, and I can play again.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say the Mortal Kombat thing. So the reason why we have mature ratings now is because there was a congressional hearing. There was a legit congressional hearing on this, and you can search it up on YouTube, find the video. Here goes Billy. Yeah, everyone's having a little bit of internet problems tonight. You can look up this footage, and it's always just politicians talking about like unreasonable stuff, like how video games causes violence. That was the biggest thing back in the 90s. Video games is going to cause violence. And we can see that most people and the kids like interviewed don't think that. Like, no, they don't think it's going to cause violence. And you'll see this correlation of violence in this America going up, but it only started with the era of CNN, Fox News, and the 24-hour news network is when that started, that violence started going up. So there's all this violence in the news, and we never ban the news. Congress never says anything about violence being covered in the news. And families sit down at dinner all the time, and they hear about murder, rape, war, murder, and the kids just eating dinner, and it's just going on in the background. Everyone's killing each other. That's what the news is saying.
Meanwhile, stop playing
Yeah, question.
Battletoads. It's going to rot your brain.
Exactly. So no, Mortal Kombat
I
was
know,
a problem, and we had to make sure the kids aren't being influenced by these video games to become violent members of society. Well, guess what? Let me see you try to do
Well-
that against the news. You're not going to take on Viacom. You're not going to take on, these industries. You're owned by them, basically.
I think part
Typically,
of
the
that problem-
gamers aren't the ones who are out getting drunk and in fights on a Friday night. They're usually the
No.
ones who are still at home. So what are they talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Least
Yeah, I
threat
know, right?
ever. But again, Congress doesn't know this stuff, but they get to decide laws. You can have like the expert there
No.
with psychologists, psychiatrists, and all the evidence saying that's not going to happen. That is not the case. And Congress will go, well, I don't believe you. I believe me. Therefore, we'll do what we say.
Well, I think wasn't there a situation where somebody had done an in-game model of like their workplace or the school or something, and that was involved in a shooting or something? I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought that was part of it.
Well, there's a Columbine RPG. I don't know if you ever heard of that Columbine RPG. Have you heard
Yeah,
of
I
that?
heard of that one.
But it's like old school SNES JRPG style turn-based and stuff. And I played a bit of it. I remember there was a lot of hate going around it, but it was meant to be more psychoanalytical, like getting into these kids' head and like saying all the dialogue for them was just saying how much they hated everyone and how they felt left out and how they're deeply hurt. And no one knew how to handle them, and they didn't know how to handle it themselves. They were never taught how. I mean, no one knows how, really. We talk about a lot of mental health in this country. Everyone wants to talk about mental health. No one knows how to handle mental health. They just want to talk about it. Yes, let's do this talk. Depression, schizophrenia, autism, and all, anything really, any issue that's going on. They want to make it better, but they don't know how to make it better. And we just continue to talk about these subjects without addressing the issues. And it just continues. And everyone's like, oh, why is this keeping happening? I bet you right now, if the statistics being hidden, that there's been more suicide by, our age men, 20 to 35-year-old men, has probably gone up in suicide in the past 2 years just because of lockdowns and stuff like that. But that gets kind of shoved under the table. They don't like it. No one likes suicide. No one likes the mass
Did the stream just get
population killing
struck?
themselves. But no one knows how to fix
Also,
it.
that goes back to the media bullshit. That goes back to the. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear on stream. That goes back
Okay.
to the media thing, though. I mean, look how the media has been demasculizing men. No wonder why the guys are depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like-
Or
I
maybe
mean,
it's
for the
not
last
think that
year,
their
they
existence is inherently
beat over their
bad.
head over this stupid stuff.
Yeah, it's like because we're on the subject
I
of
mean,
self-deletion.
The stupid shows like Fetch. Willow, for example, literally teaches kids that being a guy is a bad thing. You either have to be evil or have to be the suburban dumb piece of crap.
Yeah, the beta male. There's this
Yeah.
definitely misrepresentation on toxic masculinity. I was watching a podcast on Jocko Willink, ex-Navy SEAL. I read his books, funny guy. Anyway, he was talking about, oh no, this wasn't Jocko Willink. It was the guy from Walking Dead, Shane. I forget the actor's name.
Yeah, John Bernthal.
John Bernthal. Yes, he was talking about how there's this misrepresentation of men being all masculine, where that's not really true. True man recognizes their soul as feminine, and a lot of brought up the samurais, and Bushido kind of touches on this stuff, that they weren't just warriors. They also did calligraphy. They did poetry. They expressed themselves emotionally. They were connected with nature, pretty much. They communed with everything, and it wasn't all this male testosterone ego. It was this balance of man and female within one body, and that never gets touched on.
Yeah,
Not
every
this-
warrior class I've looked into, and I looked into a few, they've all were just as educated in a multitude of ways, and not just the sword. Like, they knew how to read, they knew how to write, they knew a form of art, they knew how to dance, things like this.
Mhm.
Every single warrior culture, they were extremely educated people. They weren't dummies who just slaughtered things all day.
It just went to the gym rats, just putting on muscle.
Yeah.
muscle.
No, it doesn't have to be. Hello, everyone. By the way,
Hey,
Well, there's a
Happy New Year, man.
yeah, Happy New Year. But it's not just this testosterone thing. I think we lost the ability to shame people in our communities whenever they go out of step. We don't have responsibility anymore in our lives. Like, it's shocking to me still in the US to see the divorce rates, for example, that it's not being shunned, and that's normalized nowadays. It's all of it.
It's deliberate, I think.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
it's deliberate.
Industry.
Yeah. A lot of stuff is deliberate, and it's also praised as well. I've heard multiple times on streams or something where you have someone instantly praise a girl for getting divorced. It's like, what are you praising that for? That's a difficult, disgusting process that just end like a future people had planned.
Or getting remarried. My dad's remarried. You know, I'm a child of divorce. It's like 60%, 50%. It's at least half.
Yep.
So it's just, you see, it's like an industry. You get married, you get divorced, you get married, you get divorced, you get married. And there's this whole process.
I believe it began when we started to allow government in marriage in general.
Yep.
Yeah.
It should have nothing to do with
100%
government. There
James.
shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to go to your freaking government to ask permission to get married. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And it all comes down to the erosion of the community at the core of it. I mean, the community and the family. I mean, because those things where, well, technically you're not doing anything wrong, you know, where they could semantic their way around things, that never would have flown when there was a stronger community. And if somebody was stepping out of line, everybody else would have popped over and said, hey, you're messing up. Get yourself in check. And the people would help keep each other on center.
And I mean, we can blame the government as much as we want, and I'm full on board with that. But even the freaking churches are so beta nowadays that,
of course,
they don't speak about the horrors of freaking gay marriage and all of that crap. And
I speak about that, Kikoman.
oh, hey, JDA.
Welcome, JDA.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
One thing I actually
Welcome to Frequency Studios. How you doing? And Happy New Year.
Hey, JDA.
Happy New Year. I don't have my headphones on. I have them on my laptop, and I'm like heating up dinner. So I'm sorry that if my sound's not the best.
Thanks for joining, man.
Yeah, you're
You're
you
happily
sound
married.
fine.
Right? You're married. You ever see yourself getting divorced?
I already dealt with that, unfortunately. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You mind sharing?
Nah. I mean, she just kind of snapped and went crazy last year and left. So
yikes. That's
Yeah,
happening to my cousin right now. Literally
I don't-
snapped and went
I don't
crazy.
advertise it because it's I try to keep
Your brand?
keep the content as like fun and topical and things like that, and I try not to use social media as therapy. But I'm always open about everything too. So if people ask me anything, I try to be honest. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Looks
I
like we
love
lost
it.
Billy Bobsack on that one.
Unfortunately, yeah. The internet works, and well, it barely works.
Sometimes, right? Our entire society is rewiring itself for internet usage.
oh, it's a disaster. I'm convinced that the pandemic, the response to the pandemic, the way that social media is designed, is increasingly trying to split up families and create friction and destroy everything involved with Christian living. And I think it's definitely something that's evil, and so that's what we're trying to fight against.
I think you're dead on there, because the more the community and family is broken apart, the easier it is for top-down control. Because with that cohesive community and people keeping
Well,
each
not
other
only
in check,
that, but history has. Sorry.
they're not quite so easily
History has
manipulated. Go ahead,
shown
Marty.
this. No, you're good. I suck at this.
There's a little bit of a delay
No,
between when you hear us and start talking. That's why we keep stepping on each other.
Oh, is that what it is? Is it like a 10-second delay?
2, 3.
Ooh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, it's a little long, but we could deal with it.
Okay, so No, that's good to know. But history has shown time and time again that's the best way for things to fall apart. Pre-World War II era, the propaganda, the division of the communities, it allowed for power to rise up. I don't know what I can and can't say on YouTube, so I'm trying not to. But it allowed
I'm not even
for
monetized, so
power
I don't
to
think it
rise up.
matters.
Split communities. And freaking it literally opened the door for Yahtzees to come in, because the whole entire community was devastated from World War One. They were looking for any bit of anything, and because they were already just downtrodden, broken, and suppressed, it literally took no effort whatsoever. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here, but history does have a tendency to repeat itself. You demoralize an entire society enough that they'll start to believe anything. Look at the Twitter heads. That most of them lack common sense to think for themselves now. They're completely radical, and if they're
history at least rhymes.
Rhymes?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. You have something similar happening,
repeating
it's not
itself.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
You have new and interesting variations. Just call it the Dystopia expansion pack.
Yeah. Well, my views on the internet are a little bit more, well, trippy, to say the least. I don't think people are using it the right way. To me, it's just another tool. You know, you can do it this way. You be the social media dopamine fiend, trying to get that like, trying to get, you know, popular and influential like that if you really want to. Or you could use it what it's supposed to be, an extension of your own mind. It's basically our collective unconscious now. This is our fifth dimension, believe it or not. It's called cyberspace, space dimension for a reason. It's outside of time. Anything you put down on here gets locked in as a library. You can refer to it, you know, years from now. This video, me speaking right now, if you keep it up on your YouTube, theoretically, 10 years from now, I could watch myself saying these words instantly. Words went through time, just like that.
I've always
Say
thought
hello to yourself.
I've never gone back and watched one of my old videos like from years ago. I just like I don't know.
I would be
Theoretically
afraid
could, but it's a place for
Hey,
expressionism. It's not a place to be getting. Well, it's not a place for pornography. It's not that place for that. Even though it seems like 90% of it is that, just a dopamine fix, quick fix like that. No, you're supposed to be actually creating here, showing yourself. Like if you look at my, I really do this with all my profiles. That's why I say I use social media is my therapy, my psychological therapy. It's my expression. On Twitter, I made sure that like my bio expressed me, and on Gilded, you'll see everything in there. Like I have a bunch of posts on there, and no offense to like Kiko Man, he doesn't have anything on his bio. It's not showing me anything. I see his picture, but I can't see his mind clearly because he's not showing enough of it. He's not expressing himself. He's not putting the things out there. Then again, he does post a lot of memes in the Gilded, so that gives me a nice little glimpse at his mind. Filled with soy. Lots of soy and Jack Daniels. But
Beam, baby.
oh, Jim Beam. My bad. My bad. See, no, if you posted that in your Gilded bios, I'd know you're a Jim Beam guy. I never would have made that mistake.
Hey, you know I'm not shy to show myself.
What are you talking about? He drinks soy sauce by the gallon.
Yep. I have a gallon of soy sauce at my kitchen right now.
As I said, the only man
Yeah.
who could chug soy by the gallon yet still maintain his testosterone.
Yeah, look at him.
But
That's my little theory on the fifth dimension here.
I'm just
Brother-
curious, where do you guys think that this whole downhill started for the United States? I mean, on paper and on its foundation, the country was fucking fantastic. Yeah, minus the slavery and all that bullcrap. But where did it start to become a totalist government type of?
The
With
The
the
Federal
Federal
Reserve.
Reserve.
The Federal Reserve.
I think
Yeah.
I think earlier than that.
That's when
Women's
Bing
right
kind
to
of took
vote.
over everything.
Maybe the New Deal, or
In
no, wait, the
culture,
New Deal
the
came
turning
after the Federal
point-
Reserve, right? Yes, Maji.
The turning
cultural
point in
turning point,
culture
what was that?
can be pinpointed to a single event. Like, and when I mean culture, what I mean is social media, comics, all of that. You could see the exact turn point, and that was with the release of Wonder Woman.
Really?
Because prior to Wonder Woman, all the comics, all the movies, all of that, the attitudes was no, it has to be mostly male. It's got to be alpha male. Females got to do this, and everybody was like, a female superhero movie just doesn't succeed. I mean, if you looked at Supergirl before then and then after that, and totally different. Same thing with all of that. Then all of a sudden, Wonder Woman gets released, the first one, which was actually good. And then all of a sudden, like, Disney's like, oh shoot, that made a lot of money, and we just openly said it would fail. And then Disney completely went off the rails and went total opposite direction for the wokeness and everything. Same with the comics, that opened the door for all the woke heroes to come in. If you look at the start date of Miss Marvel so happens to look exactly like the chief editor chick that was brought in at the exact same time as to be a public figure for the Obama administration during the Marvel comics. It all revolves around a single time point, and that was when Wonder Woman came in and kicked everyone's butt, and then it snapped all of culture into a downward spiral.
Maji, as much as you would like my response to this, I think the cliff started to go way steeper when women started to vote, but I think the whole process started way beforehand.
Well, no, I'm talking about the culture, the wokeness, and social media.
Well,
Yeah.
If you look at when Wonder Woman
I
was
think-
released in
I think it
theaters,
started with the
that's when it took
universities
highlight.
even prior to that, right? Before Marvel and all of that.
But that's when we saw it happen.
well, I'm
in
just
the
talking about
media
mainstream
front.
media.
Yeah, I thought this was going on in the comic book world a lot longer before it hit into
had
the
been.
movies. There was like a
And-
lag
It
there.
had been.
It
Don't forget
happened
the
about
contribution.
2000 in the comic books.
Really?
Well, don't forget that before the internet, we were all force-fed news from those same organizations without being able to seek alternative information. So
Mhm.
beforehand, we were
Correct.
handspooned, and now we can see some alternatives and see some different information, and they're fighting hard against it. But I think I'm what you call it, white-pilled on this a little bit.
As am I.
The internet has shown us alternatives, and I think prior to that we were basically
Skunks
More compliant
Workshop has figured it out.
Yeah, the internet really did just
Yeah,
completely
Wonder Woman
change the world.
release date was 2017, but the comics started shifting in 2014, which was when they started making the movie.
Interesting.
I had to look
You
it up.
mentioned Miss Marvel, and I'm one of those who somehow made myself sit and semi-suffer through the TV show, hoping it would be good.
Wow.
And it was unfortunately boring, and it's weird because the lady they had playing Kamala Khan was so dang likable, but the story around the character altogether was just a snore fest. And it was like kind of a bummer. I like who's playing her. The story was just not worth my
Yeah.
time.
I'm glad you brought that one up too, because one thing that I think, to a degree, Disney at least, and maybe some other studios, they have successfully kind of convinced culture to a degree that their movies are like moral litmus tests. Like you brought that one
Yeah.
up. There were a few people who literally started accusing others of like the racisms because they didn't like it for particular reasons. They said, "Oh, I don't believe you liked it for, you hated it for that reason. I think it's actually because you're a little, you're a little racist," or things like that. And I've heard it with a few of them, like you hate women, or you're a racist, or you're not down with the cause. And to a degree, it's actually sunken in culture, because people do kind of beat around the bush a little bit when it comes to that, or they almost give it a little credibility. Or even when I hear like some other streams, big like YouTubers who complain about this, they themselves will almost entertain a little piece of that within the midst of their conversations. And it's like, they succeeded to a degree of turning them into these moral litmus tests.
Yeah, but
I
exactly where is their moral compass coming from? Nobody seems to have
They don't
any
have
roots
one,
anymore, other than
It's
which way
coming
is the
from the
wind
wallet.
blowing?
Don't you know
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it
I
is.
see you there,
It's all
Jimmy.
about it's all about the money. It's all it's ever been about, and
Mhm.
they're just
The moral compass always points to the wallet, but however, they don't realize the wallet's empty.
Yeah,
But I mean,
the
they
money
can't-
sucks.
They can't keep bleeding themselves dry like this though, because
they are getting some ESG money, but that will only last so long until it just either dries up or they
that
ditch
makes
'em.
no sense. It doesn't seem even close to sustainable.
No,
And
it's
again,
still-
Here's the thing, though. The Disney board, the Disney company themselves will, in order to quote unquote fix things, turn things around, they have to admit they were wrong. These big
Yeah, not gonna
shots up top think that they rule everything. They're gonna let their ego pretty much bring down the company down to almost its knees. Somebody's gonna have to step up and admit they're wrong. But when that happens, they're gonna be the fall guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
look
don't
what
know if they
happened to
can.
JPEG.
Well, I hope it does fall. It makes room for us.
So maybe a separate question. I've been looking to buy houses for a while, and all the houses I see around me are like 5-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses. And I started to look at like 1960s, 1940s houses that have literally like 2 bedrooms, older style. I'm wondering, when did this materialism start to come about in the United States, where you have to have everything bigger, much more room for what exactly? And
Still not enough space.
Yeah, which is kind of odd. People used to have bigger families than we do now. So
Right.
It's like the 2-bedroom house would be more expected of, we don't, I mean, it used to be like my grandmother was one of, I think, 12 siblings, whereas nowadays people
Boomers.
we're barely even at replacement rate, if we're even there.
right, but still, people here at my age group with 1 or 2 children or no children still buy houses with like fucking 5 bedrooms, and that's the standard. Who set that standard?
Boomers did, because during the 50s, after the war, everyone came home that survived the war, and they had all these kids. They needed bigger homes, so they started building the suburbs with 2-car garage and 5-bedroom houses just to accommodate for all the boomers. Well, 50 years later, here we are. No one changed the standard. We're just kind of slowly doing this new modern home take where I don't even know what's going on anymore. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening anymore. It's hard to tell where we're gonna go.
It's the internet, man.
I
Everything's
think
happening
the
at
housing
once.
market's about to get a stalemate.
It's definitely gonna small down, but my sister just bought her house here, and she said there's neighbors in her neighborhood that's just like a couple that have this 5-bedroom house, this huge place that they don't need that much space. You can actually divide it up and put 2 families on the same plot of land with that amount of space. But you want a big house because you're rich, so you get a big house. It's just it's just
Well,
the
if I
standard.
had the
Nothing like-
opportunity to get a big house with a lot of land, guess what? I'm going to do it because I
Well-
want to do things like have a garden and use the land for stuff. So I mean,
Well,
that's
You have to maintain the house. That's
something.
the thing.
Yes,
you get a big
we
house,
do.
you got to maintain all of it.
That's the thing. The more you have, the more
Right.
the more you have to work.
But let's
Mhm.
say you're a
There is
family.
balance point.
Let's say you're a family of you and your wife, and you have one child. Do you need 6 bedrooms?
No,
Maybe
Not
2
right then.
offices.
But
actually,
if your
having
family
6
keeps growing-
bedrooms would just be a hassle at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
You need to have an office, have yourself a home gym.
Well,
little
no,
But if somebody
amphitheater
does want all
section.
that and they're willing to work hard to get it, I will
Yeah, I'll
not
do
begrudge
it.
them for having it.
Hell yeah.
game
no,
room.
to me, those are the materialistic expectations that you get once you get a big house with empty rooms. You start to fill it with shit you don't need, and suddenly, yeah, you have your home gym, you have your, but holy shit, that's quite privileged, and who needs that?
I'm with Kiko Man on this. I don't spend money on a lot of materialistic stuff. Like I kind of feel bad because I don't have collectibles. I have a buddy that spends a lot of money on collectible stuff and unique nerd stuff. And over time it's going to have a more appreciative value than me spending money on, well, magic mushrooms, weed, LSD, and
Buy magic cards.
that's
Sit on them.
No, but seriously, Trippy, a set of 2 dumbbells is enough for you to set up a gym. You can get every fucking exercise you need from 2 dumbbells.
Oh no, yeah, I have a pull-up bar. I do sit-ups, push-ups, and pull-ups. That's all I need to do. I weigh 220 pounds. Doing that's enough of a workout. I don't need to do more than that.
Versus someone who spends hundreds of dollars at the gym and only goes twice.
But
treadmills and all of that equipment and shit. Yep.
I mean, you look at you gotta look at the bronze era of bodybuilding before steroids came into things, and it was just more natural physiques and stuff. They didn't have gym equipment. They just had these standard workouts, barbells, dumbbells, nothing special. And you can see some of the bodies that they got from it. It's pretty ripped. Yeah. I think it's better than they look today because it's more natural. It's not just this roided out, hulking mess. It's obviously fake. It's not real muscle. It's all fake muscle.
And Overlord Fluffy says, homes aren't a place to live and raise family. Houses are an investment to make money. And I say that is part of the cultural problem is the family. We need to somehow find a way to make the family the center of a culture again.
Yep.
Because without a strong family unit, everything else starts to fall apart. And we've seen exactly that happen throughout the years. Now, someone asked earlier, where was it that everything started to shift? Whether you're religious or not, I do think one of the main problems was when prayer kind of got kicked out of school, because whether religious, secular, whatever, our culture is pretty much founded on Judeo-Christian values. And when you kind of make that almost taboo in public, then it all starts to fall apart.
Yeah, I think a lot of people got confused with the
I have a phone call, so I'll be back if I can see you.
with the separation of church and state. And many people think, well, that's a separation of church. I don't have to hear about church. And that's not what the intention was with that at all.
Yeah, now somebody once said it's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And,
yes.
And she who was it? It was some woman in politics who said that, but when she said that, she got utterly eviscerated. Like they took it in the worst faith way possible. Like she was saying, we get to ram it down your throat. No, that's not what she was saying. She's saying
they're always going to take it that way.
People don't have to hide it from,
right?
Wrangler,
I think this is exactly what we need to start doing. It's like calling people who are pro-abortion baby killers, saying heretics to people who are not Christians. And I'm getting sick of this fucking one standard from the left keeping attacking the right, and we just, oh yeah, free speech for everyone, blah blah blah. I'm fucking disgusted by this at this point.
Yeah,
it comes down to education.
Freedom comes responsibility, though.
Well,
that's nothing
But
new.
Kikumon's right. For example, look at what happened with Gina Carano. Gina Carano literally tweeted a post from a quote that was on the Holocaust Museum wall. It has that's an actual quote on the wall. I have physically seen it myself. All she did was tweet that picture, and then all of a sudden she gets shit canned. She gets banned from social media. Whoopi Goldberg goes
Yeah.
way worse. Gets told because she's on the extreme one side. They tell her, "Oh, you should just apologize," and then what was it? 2 weeks ago, completely went back on her apology and said the exact same thing, which was way worse than what Gina Carano said.
Yep.
Comes down to core values. It's because their
there's no-
foundation
Tribalism.
sucks.
Yeah, it's
foundation of beliefs
tribalism.
sucks.
It's tribalism mixed with this pseudo fake culture we all rammed ourselves into since essentially like the advent of social media taking over the internet, where everybody became their own little star of their own little show. They had to show the world, and now they all had to kind of continuously wear that fake mask. And then
No,
you
man,
have
but,
the
uh,
tribalism on top of it.
I will even go
But
as
if you're
back
gonna hold one person to a standard, you gotta hold both people to a standard.
Not if you live in a fake tribalistic
There's no
world. You don't.
balance.
You can fake the standards.
No,
Yeah, they're irrational. That's the problem.
I will take it
Straight
as far as saying that even the
No, they're
pride flag-
freaking. I'll be honest. I don't think they're irrational. I think they're downright evil because they know what they're doing. They know that they're lying out of their teeth. They know that they really don't care about any of this rationality or what's good, what's not, this moral anything, because they don't have it. That rock bed of morality is gone. Now it's all about who can win the tribal argument. You can be the moral ones, the moral victors, because you won in general.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think they care about the laws at all. The laws are just there to keep us in check.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, they don't pay attention to the laws, so the laws don't matter to them.
Guys, even think about the fucking rainbow flag. They stole it from a biblical scenario.
The promise that we would never
Yep.
be worldwide flooded again.
Yep, they stole it. They fucking took that fucking rainbow flag, and they're now using it to show their sexual emotions at workplaces. They'll wear
Their fetishes.
Yeah, their fetishes. Yeah, you see a guy with a rainbow flag, you know he's fucking gay. Can I wear a fucking shirt that I like women with big boobies and big booties? No.
If I did that, I would get
could.
slapped.
Hey, you
Well,
know what?
no.
I'm willing to take that to
But-
4chan. We say, hey, 4chaners, we got a new flag for you. And it says, we like
No,
women.
but I'm saying it's unacceptable to show this type of shit on public. It's sexual stuff. Keep it in private.
Well,
And
it
those
shouldn't
people
have a
wear it.
flag. The whole concept of a flag, it represents a nation. Well, guess what? They're still American. They're American, so they should have an American flag.
You
There's
sure? I
nothing.
thought they're
American
Ukrainian.
flag.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like this weird flag thing. Flags, dude. It's a flag. It's what it is. It's a false flag operation. If anything, it's a false flag.
Well,
Doesn't
what
mean
is
anything,
a
but
flag?
they'll-
A flag
I saw
is-
a clip of this teenager going through with scissors at like his high school, cutting off the LGBTQ flag that was covering up another like nation's flag or something. They had the whole like hallway with all these national flags, and they had that one in there. It's like you're not a nation, believe it or not. Let your ego go. That's a big ass ego to say we're a nation. We need a flag.
It's
Think
not
about
an
it.
ego. I think it's like an identity crisis. A lot of people see that as an identity. They've come to, and that, you know, once again, I think that goes back to the shallow culture we have, where we want people to identify as these singular, shallow things, so they can go off and buy whatever or support whatever, and they can stop doing their thinking and just wave the flag.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I think it's hurting the LGBT more than it's helping, because it's creating such a
many who are trying
resentment.
to call
It's
that
only
out, and
making
they're
it
getting in trouble for it.
To be frank, I don't give
Mhm.
a shit about LGBT. I'm all for going back to the bullying and all that bull crap when it comes to them. I have no sympathy.
Well, if
I'm
we
a
bully-
big
With that, I
believer,
can't
especially
quite agree.
if
All right,
family that are
people
LGBT.
can be
They can
in
do
love with
whatever
who they
they
want to be
want
in love
behind
with.
closed
But
doors.
you are right. They can't. They couldn't. People shouldn't go around saying these are my sexual turn-ons and announce it to the world. That's just piss poor taste. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah.
you said, if I go around screaming in public, I like huge knockers, people are gonna get upset, and rightfully so. But you know,
Yeah,
I
behind
mean,
closed doors, do whatever the fuck you want. But
yeah,
if you
talking to your
announce it-
friends, hey, say what you want, but you don't. I don't go around and have a parade. Like I like women with these measurements. If I went out having a parade like that, then I'd be
I,
told I was body
I
shaming
mean,
women who aren't that.
I mean, I don't want to use the slippery slope type of argument, but what if there was a guy in the street yelling, "I like to have sexual engagements with young girls"?
He would be arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That's not acceptable in society.
Unless he's the president's son.
Well, yeah, that, yeah, but
Well,
Nice.
unfortunately, it's kind of even worse for him. They're not taking him to task on that. They just see him as a joke.
right, but
Oh,
but that's
How far have we
that's
fallen?
kind of the slippery slope argument that I'm trying to make here. It's like this is not fucking acceptable. It's not okay.
actually kind of always been there. So I watched this
It does, yeah.
YouTube video, Empire of the Mind, analyzing Kubrick's Lolita. Have you heard of this book, Lolita?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've known about the movie. It's weird subject, and it just makes you feel gross watching it. But watching the analysis of it and like kind of breaking down the things that go on in there, kind of shows the metaphors and the predatory minds of these two guys going after this young girl that's kind of represented the innocence of America. Basically, that's the way it's kind of presented. When I learned, but there's some lines in the movie where Lolita is trying to be a starlet, and the hints that like everyone in Hollywood is basically a sexual predator going after young girls. It's been there. It always has been.
And
It's just
dudes.
the way it is.
Yes, and dudes too, and that's actually become
Dude,
the reputation
the
of
kids.
Hollywood. In
And that's
recent
why they want to
years.
make it. Yeah, that's when they want to make it acceptable, so that way they can do this
Not
in
get in
public.
trouble for what
So-
they've been doing.
And
It
I
always
hate
comes down
break it
to-
you in churches too. Which
Yeah,
is-
people high places of power. So because they're not they have no consequences for the actions, and they're perverts. They're predators. They're like that. So they will try to manipulate, groom, and seduce and eventually have sex with underage girls and boys just because this predatory nature. And since there's no consequence, they never get corrected on it. They're going to keep doing it. There's no reason not to, right? No
And
one's.
again, I think the solution to all this is the strong, cohesive family unit. This is what we need to combat against it. Because when parents are directly involved in their kids' lives, like we
Well-
unfortunately have not been for the last couple of generations for the most part
actually
in
say,
general,
The movie
that's
touches
how
on that
things
too.
get slipped in.
No, yeah, the movie
Actually-
touches on that. The mom is kind of irresponsible mom. She doesn't care about. She's always called Lolita, her daughter, a monster, and she's off doing her own mom stuff. She doesn't really care about the child. It's a weak family
Mhm.
unit.
It's
No,
not even
so-
that. Like, I think it goes greater than that. Like, it's family unit, and it's also like neighborhoods. It's also being involved in your local communities, because people forget back in the day, before the voting was a right, if you were a male and you could vote, that meant you were basically every sort of neighborhood social service there was. You were the firefighter, you were the police, you were everything. Because why? It was your responsibility. You got to vote. You got to say in your community. Therefore, it's your responsibility to take care of your community.
I'm struggling to understand this. Well, I agree on the basis level, but we have Epstein Island. We have
Yeah.
politicians that
We have
we
cuties.
know of who've been there, and cuties, and they don't have a bullet in their head yet. It's
No consequences.
yeah, exactly. What consequence? Those people are protected.
Yeah. They're protected until, they need a sacrificial lamb, and then you get one of the guys falling out of power and you throw him under the rug.
And
And then you get Epstein.
I think Harvey Weinstein was like one of the first really big names of sacrificial lambs. Like, let's throw him under the bus, and hopefully
replace him.
it'll blow over.
Mhm.
And speaking of Jennifer Lawrence, because she's the joke of the day, she was really close to that guy. She was really close to that dude. You could look up some footage. You can tell they were, they were a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's all putting her hands on him on stage and stuff, talking about how much she loves him, yada
Yep.
yada. Like, yeah.
So she's just a predator too. Just
They
predators
are.
and predators.
That these industries, these government types, they're all just trying
Predatory.
to separate. Yeah, they're predatory, and they only allow their own kind to rise up through the ranks. You
Mhm.
got to keep selling your soul, selling yourself until you become one of them. Pretty sick.
No, but that
Yeah.
just shows you
It's
how
the
far
Hollywood
we've
Borg.
gone.
The Hollywood morgue, yeah.
Borg.
Not
Borg.
Hollywood, the government, and
All these industries we're surrounded by. It's every single one of them.
I think
Every single one of them are all
Washington
corrupt.
and Hollywood are the same industry.
Washington, Hollywood, the police, the pharmaceutical industries.
Oh yeah.
Well,
They're all just
The
elites
tinfoil
like to-
hats run strong with us tonight.
I don't think the police are wrapped into that because each police unit is its own local thing.
Some
But I agree.
You don't know
with
about
you.
Primarily the urban police departments get
DAs,
wrapped
which
into that.
if you buy the DA, it doesn't matter who the police arrest. The DA can throw them back on the streets. That's one way you can get rid of it, like effective policing, right there.
I used to be back to blue all the time until the fucking COVID shit hit, and then the Antifa crap, they didn't do crap about it, and when it came down to COVID lockdowns, they were the first ones to take your rights out, just because that's my job, and that's exactly what the fucking Nazi German guards did, and the Nazi military did. So
I still say those lockdowns are a trial run. We're going to have another set coming that they're not going to want to. They're going to want to keep those pretty close to permanent.
That even goes back to one of the hurricanes a number of years back.
I remember that.
The police went around and were collecting guns from people, and it's like, what are you doing?
They want to be the tyrants. They need you to be disarmed.
They're just doing
Well, they were told to. So
Yeah.
I don't blame the individual police. They're just foot soldiers. They're agents of the states. They're basically, the agents from the Matrix.
I
They're
don't blame
taught
them either.
to do this. They were basically programmed. This is their training. They don't know any better because they're trained this way. And you have to follow procedures, or if you don't follow procedures, you lose your job. And this is their job.
However, there is this thing. I do believe police also are forbidden from following unconstitutional orders.
Yeah.
And so they
Well, they're also
do
trained-
need to keep a look at that. If they're going to sit there and go and enforce rules that counter general rights, and just go along with it, then there is a degree of responsibility on their part.
Yes, Wrangler, I agree with you. In general terms, they have committed the pledge, but at the same time, if they refuse the orders, they will be fired, and nothing will happen to them at the same time.
And they can't. Well, they'll get fired. They can't feed their family. They can't provide.
Exactly.
So, and they're obviously going to want to do that because it provides for the family. You're going to do
It's a
that by
job.
default, even if it means
It's a job.
doing the most despicable stuff in the world.
It is a
But-
job, exactly, just like a Nazi German guard. It was a
Yeah,
job.
SS,
I'm
like
feeding my
your
family.
Most police officers do it because they want to. Like a lot of them were against enforcing the stupid COVID regulations.
And most of them are fired now or quit.
But a lot of the
That's
ones
another-
who were against this kind of stuff said, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. And I don't blame them for that. But when they left, it just left the guys that don't care and are going to do whatever as long as they get their paycheck at the end of the day to remaining behind to do the job. And so, this is primarily, it seems, mostly in urban settings. The more you get away from a city, the less of a problem it seems to be. Yet at the same time, everything wants to encourage everyone to go to the cities where all this is being done at the most.
And I fully respect people or police officers who went there to try to protect their communities, and some of them even made the decision to enforce COVID laws because they thought it's the right thing to do. But still, they just how far can you go? Like closing down a fucking restaurant over fucking mask mandates. Holy shit.
Well, another thing that they've done is brought in like out of state police or like out of the community police because
Mhm.
they don't know the community and they don't have, if after the job is over, they don't have to worry about going back into the community because they go back home wherever they are somewhere else. And that's an issue.
Mm-hmm. Think about how long does it take to become a police officer? 4 months, 6 months?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's something like that.
Longer.
It depends
There's
on-
actual programs that you have to go through a 2-year college to get into some police programs.
Yeah, depends on the jurisdiction.
Yeah, but okay, so 2
Then
years
some are
college.
sheriff's departments that are run by election.
Assuming you already did the 2 years because you're 18, you went to college for 2 years, 20, now you're becoming a police cadet. You get 6 months training, you get a gun and badge, you're out and doing your job. You're enforcing the law at that point. Okay, how long does it take to become a lawyer and practice law in the courts? That's like a 4 to 6 year college education to understand the law. So we're talking about 6 months to enforce the law versus 4 years to know the law. I'm not expecting the enforcers to know the law. They don't. They didn't go through the education. There's no way they can know all these nuances. They're trained to do their job the way they was trained. And matter of fact, they want you to break the law. They want to violate your civil liberties. When they ask you, do you know why I pulled you over? Right then, if you answer that question, you gave up your Fifth Amendment right to, not say that you were breaking the law. You're allowed to just plead the Fifth. Say, no, I'm not saying that because that's I'm going to admit that I broke the law. I'm not saying that. But they'll try to get you to admit it right away. And then once you're down that little spiral.
Well, that's why I always say I'm
popular.
not sure what. Could you please explain?
Yeah, exactly. But you don't admit.
Down in the
my-
chat,
you
Billy
just don't-
Bobsack says it takes a year to do the bar exam.
Yeah. But see,
Depending on your state.
there's no way the cops
In,
know the law. They don't. There's no way. That's impossible.
There's so
But-
many of them that it becomes overwhelming, and you
Yeah.
and the
they're
law
expected
seems
to
to be
enforce it.
applied depending on how good at semantics you are. Because you
And
could read the law and
situation
go,
and how they
okay, so
feel.
it clearly means this, but you get a lawyer who will take a couple of words in that and then whip out different
argue.
variations of a definition of that word, and they can sit there and restring it to mean almost anything they want. So it's like, does the law even have? I mean, in the way we're working it nowadays, does it even mean anything anymore? Is there a right and wrong, or is it just who's got the better verbiage today?
That
Who
always-
wins?
That always reminds me of when we had to go back and define what the word is.
Oh yeah. Was that Bill Clinton who said that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depends on what is. I feel your pain.
Well, that's
Um,
part of it all. Just another game of semantics.
No, yeah, no words. Well, okay, so the Fourth Amendment is being free from illegal search and seizure and detainment. So a cop can't just like arrest me for no reason. I can't just be walking down the street, even if it's 4 a.m. or 3 a.m, and I'm not like stumbling. I'm just going for a walk to clear my brain because I'm going through some shit. A cop would see me and he can theoretically just stop and ask to like for ID, and I can refuse it. But at that point, they just go down this rabbit hole. I've seen some videos of this. Like, they're out here for your safety. They want to make sure that you're safe. Well, am I under arrest? No. Am I free to go? No. I'm actually being detained right now until I show this ID. So how is that my safety? I'm actually in the presence of an individual that's armed, and I don't know this guy. I know he's a cop, but that doesn't mean he's a good guy. That doesn't mean he can just if he wanted to, he could pull out the gun and kill me for every physical reason. He could. It'd be bad for him, yeah, but he's a human. He could be having a bad night too and ran into me having a bad night, and just the conflict would ensue, and I'd be the one getting killed because he's armed and I'm not.
Trippy, you're forgetting one point, that you should be able to walk with a fucking machine gun on your shoulder everywhere you go.
I should.
That
Depends on the
rifles. State.
An armed society is a polite society.
Well, it depends on the state nowadays, but the Second Amendment is very clear.
Yeah, no. If I try to do that now, the cop wouldn't even bother talking to me. He just pull out the car and shoot me.
They
Wouldn't even bother asking.
No, that's not.
I'm like
Most cops don't want to do that.
But they see some guy with a gun and he thinks I'm
Most
going to
police
save someone right
officers
now.
actually,
Threat. That's the threat. The guy with gun is threat.
yeah,
But
Well,
Most
the
officers,
guy
most
with the
police
gun
officers
is a
are
threat to the
undertrained.
the good guy with the gun is also a threat to the criminal with a gun. And to back up with the Second Amendment, you used to be able to own fucking cannons on ships.
see, Pickle Man, in that case, I wouldn't be running around with a machine gun on my shoulder. I'll be rolling a cannon down the street with one of those big old plungers and a cannonball just ready to go.
Sure, if you want to.
Come
It's
at me,
not
bro.
very
Come at me.
efficient, No, but seriously, you could have owned machine guns, Gatling guns, and all of that crap, and it was allowed by the Second Amendment back in the day. You could have a warboat with cannons and crewmates on it. That was legal. And the United States government actually took those private citizens for war efforts by giving them payment in the past. And now you cannot even have unconcealed. You have to have concealed carry permits.
Mhm.
What the fuck?
I don't even think you can get those in California anymore. I
No,
don't think
probably
citizens can have them.
Yeah.
You'd have to be like a official, like either security guard, like on the job security, or a cop or detective or registered as DOD. I just can't have a concealed permit anymore and just walk around with my 9 concealed. And if shit goes down, I could pull out the permit, but I don't think I'm allowed to even get those anymore here. They're just gone, illegal, not allowed.
Haven't there been a couple of trials about that stuff, or am I thinking about New York? Probably New York.
New York is
Maybe.
way, way worse. You can't get a gun in New York.
Oh yes, you can get a gun very easily in New York. From the
Vegas
back
has some of the
corners.
highest gun crimes.
But if you try and do it legally, you're screwed.
Yeah, legally, no. Illegally,
Blue states,
you can
blue
easily
states,
get a
yeah.
gun in New York.
Well, there's been at least 2 cases this year that people have taken. I think it's
2
a
days?
state to court saying that you have to allow this, or you have to change your rules.
There's been cases. There's been a few cases. I even heard one because I'm not sure if any of you
Well,
listen to
especially
Nate the
where
Lawyer
they're
on YouTube.
defunding a lot of the police.
Yeah, yeah, that too. Like, there's this one guy watching YouTube. He calls himself Nate the Lawyer. He's a lawyer, but he
Yeah.
was literally, he worked for the district attorneys, I believe, and he was a cop. He did carry a gun, and he did an experiment. I didn't finish watching it, but he basically had to go through all these loopholes, seeing if he can get a gun, because apparently it's so bad in New York that you literally have to go in for like this interrogation session where cops sit around you for like a half hour and start just questioning you about why you need a gun and all this. And he's like, he wanted to find out if a person who worked for, our criminal justice system and carried a gun for his job can get one privately. And, it was ridiculous. So they do it if, they're doing everything they can to make sure the second doesn't exist. And it barely feels like it does sometimes.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm sure
they
all
don't
of
think
you
that they're-
Actually, if you read the textbooks, they've edited the Second Amendment in a lot of the school textbooks.
I'm
Really?
sure they
If
did.
you read the
they did.
Second Amendment, yeah, if you pull up government in a textbook, it's been it's been completely changed if you compare it to the original Second Amendment in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Well, Ray,
But the textbooks in our school are teaching the wording is different.
Well, that's public school for you. Shouldn't even
Oh,
trust
just
anything coming out
a
of
remind-
public school.
well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
So just
Needing to get
remember
permission
that-
is an infringement.
Just
Mhm.
remember that Adolf Hitler, Stalin, and Mao, the first thing they've done is disarm the populace.
And so did Castro.
Yep. But okay, let's pretend I'm a serial killer and I get my hands on a fucking cursing again.
Then the cop's gonna kill you.
You got
No,
that
I'm
Jim Beam
gonna be
mouth
there.
going on again, huh?
I get my hands on a gun. Where do I go? To the shooting range or the gun-free zone school area?
Hopefully, there's shooting range. Hopefully, but moving targets are more fun.
But if he's a psycho with a gun, he's going to avoid the shooting range because he knows
Uh-huh.
that's where people can fire back.
Yep.
That's actually what's it called? A couple years ago when that Batman movie came out, they had a shooting in the theater. The guy actually driven I think 3 towns over to a town that had heavy gun laws, and he went to that theater, not his local theater near him. He went to one where they had a lot of gun laws.
Specifically,
Where you don't
probably
poop where you
because
eat.
of
No gun zone. I believe he was in the no gun zone. So there you go.
Oh yeah, the criminals will listen to the sign on the door.
Exactly.
Very well.
They know the law. They know how to use it. They know to work a way around it. The laws just penalize, modern day laws penalize your average citizens because of what criminals do.
So how do we start moving the culture back into a more cohesive direction? One where they're not eating each other alive.
I think
and
we're
trying
already
to pick
going
each other
there.
apart.
I think we're already going there because think about it. Like one of the things that very few people disagree with is that news is bullshit. That's actually a gigantic step in the right direction. Like
Mhm.
what, 5-6 years ago, the idea of fake news was just something Donald Trump said. Now everybody kind of agrees. Like, yeah, it's not all legit. It's not all real. There's always
Well, technically,
everybody questions
Disney owns 4 out of the 5 major news stations.
yeah.
Conflict of
Yeah.
interest.
Again, I say entertainment and
People
politics
don't
has
realize
become the same industry.
I mean, we're all a little bit on the conservative side here, but I wonder how the Democratic side took the misinformation about the COVID.
Commies.
Yeah, commies. But you can see at least at my workplace, I can see people who used to wear double masks no longer wearing masks, and
Yeah.
how
'Cause
do
it's
they
retarded.
justify it in their own heads? I don't understand it.
It's because most people these days, I shouldn't say but this is my speculation on it, is most people these days honestly don't do much thinking for themselves. They have a favorite talking head, politician or YouTuber, podcaster, whatever, that does the thinking for them, and they just listen to them. And whenever their
just watch
favorite
CNN.
talking head changes their mind, they change their mind.
Yeah.
Well, as long as that aligns with their beliefs, people always go off their beliefs before a fact. It takes a little while for these facts to kind of sink in, and like them to answer these questions that they're now posing from new facts, and then accepting it. Accepting the truth is really, really hard. It's actually kind of hard to do, especially if you have this foreign belief, especially for adults. Adults are already rigid. They have a rigid mind, and then it's the way it is. It's this way, and good luck trying to change their
No, but
opinions on stuff, even with all the facts and the truths.
no, but
It's not
Trippy,
fluid enough.
I'm trying to figure out like those people who truly believed very heartily that 6 feet apart, you have to wear a mask, and now they stopped. Why did they stop?
I still can't figure out why they started.
Well, I can figure out why they started because government told them to, but
Yeah, they were told to, and,
But-
and they were afraid.
That's
They
the
thought
number
it
one
worked.
reason not to comply.
well, for
Work forced me to wear one.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
I had to
and
wear
wore
one or be
too.
fired.
Yep.
And I'm
was
in
the
construction.
same
It's not fun when you're actually doing a lot of physical labor and
No, it's
No,
not.
having
no,
something
no.
on,
But
trying to
there
go
were people-
upstairs with a mask on. You can't breathe.
I work stocking retail, moving all that shit around, stocking,
Yeah.
moving the shelves around, all of that.
That will sweat
You
that
can't
builds
breathe
up.
wearing a mask.
No,
Well, no,
No, you really
but,
can't.
Build a team.
but we all did that because we had to. There are people who wanted to do that. What made them stop? Like, what was the turning point?
Oh, they probably think things are safe now. Like the
Because we got the
pandemic's mostly
vaccine,
over.
because it's no longer that fatal, or what's the
Yeah, that's actually a good point, Kiko. Probably because the numbers aren't being shoved in their face every day like it was back when it was the prime of the pandemic. Think about it. When the pandemic was happening, they kept showing you how many people were dying every day
Right.
because of this thing. Every day, someone's dying. Look at the numbers. Oh my gosh, the
Until
death
the
toll is now
president
this.
switched.
Death toll is now that.
As
And
soon
that
as
really
the
kept
president
people
switched,
going.
as soon as the president switched, CNN took down
Well,
the
not
numbers. They
only
all took down the numbers.
that, but a lot of people didn't realize that the COVID was also including everything. So flu,
Everything.
chickenpox, all of
Yep.
that was listed under the COVID numbers because they didn't bother to separate that out.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that. So
Maji, I believe that the people who believe, the hardcore Democrats who believed in that, still thought that's the case. For
possibly,
some
I mean,
reason, at some point, they stopped wearing masks. They stopped. I still see the occasional double mask car driver.
yeah.
Yeah, I never understood that one.
I mean,
but what made them change from you have to maintain 6 feet distance, you have to have a mask on you at all times,
uh-huh.
to not having that for the people who believe in the government propaganda? That's what I don't understand. Did the
Maybe
government-
it's just
when the pandemic came out, they instilled a lot of fear. After 2 years of being under control and lockdown and all that bullshit, a lot of people probably were just so jaded that the fear was gone. I remember the mass panic. Okay, I have pictures from, well, not I have pictures, but I have seen pictures, and where I've worked retail, have seen the entire food aisles completely emptied because when the freaking pandemic hit, they came in and took all of anything that they could get a hold of. I was
I
in
wish it was
riots
the
for
food
toilet
aisles.
paper. People
I
were
wish it was
ripping
the food aisles.
toilet
It was the
paper
toilet
off the
fucking paper.
pallets as I'm walking down the hall.
Wow. Why would anyone stock up on fucking toilet paper out of all things?
It's propaganda, man.
Because
It's a bunch of
lockdown,
dumb
you're locked down. You
people.
It's
can't
what
leave. And
happened.
Kiko,
I honestly think it's just the propaganda. Few people probably start doing it. It was a few little rush outs, and then the news started reporting it, and then it just started growing from there. And you already have a
Yeah.
civilization that's primed to work off of propaganda to begin with, and then you give them nothing but propaganda for 2 years, and then you slowly bow down to propaganda, and then one day it just doesn't work anymore because if it's propaganda fed, fear fed, you take those elements away, it's gonna dissipate.
Yep.
And it's
see-
everywhere, and we've
it's
seen it
true.
all the
What-
time.
oddly
Yeah.
enough, I had a stash of toilet paper before any of that even started. Just
No, but
because
why?
Smart.
Why fucking
consumables
Oh,
paper?
I like to have on hand in case we get
Fist
snowed
fight
in.
because
That's
they didn't
smart.
have any in supply.
I actually got a stack of just
I
old
had people trying
newspaper.
to fist fight for the stupid toilet paper because we didn't have
Yeah.
anything.
The mass wipe.
I could tell you one thing. It was so stupid. I had a group of people. Okay, so we had just opened. We were rolling out the toilet paper. They were crowding the toilet paper aisle, waiting
Yeah.
for us to unload this, and they were about to break out into a full-blown riot because we were trying to decide if it should be numbered or not on how many toilet paper people could buy. And they were in
Right.
full mass panic.
And I'm
Well,
telling
if they
you,
really needed
Over
something to wipe
over
with that
shitter
bad,
paper.
don't they have masks?
then that's what the propaganda
So
was
funny.
about over that time. It was toilet paper. I guarantee you, if
The
it was
toilet
about like
paper, sorry, the toilet is 2 feet away from the fucking shower. You don't need to ask.
You know, if you really need
That's
to,
not
yes.
how
you
a
can
that's
just
not how
shower it
a
out.
propagandistic infected mind works. Somebody who's infected with propaganda is only thinking about the toilet paper. That's why they're only rushing the damn toilet paper first.
No, like if I heard that there is a pandemic that I was sure about it, I would
Mhm.
get all of the fucking canned foods out of the aisle, not the fucking toilet paper.
No, there was
The last
shortage
thing
in
you
that too.
want-
I got
Yeah,
shit tons
I
of
remember.
canned
You don't
food.
remember the photos? There's a great photo of
Lemons, right?
during the height of the pandemic, and everyone raided like the meat place, and then like, stocked up, and the only thing that was left was all the tofu. Nobody ate the tofu.
Yeah, not in my
Oh,
state.
the only thing left in the store that nobody touched during the height of the pandemic, like we were out of canned foods, we were out of bread, we were out of everything. The only thing not touched was the gluten-free area.
Yep,
That was fully stocked.
it's hilarious.
The
Wow.
Impossible Burgers were still all over the
Yeah.
shelf.
And you know, one thing I want to bring up, because I know we touched on this way earlier, and it does kind of revolve around the idea of propaganda, because a large portion of this woke movement began with the whole transvestite thing. We got to go out there and protect trans people. And one of the largest propaganda things that they pushed to push the new moral crusade was the whole, like, what is it, 40% of trans people could try to commit self-deletion, you know?
Mhm.
And one thing that I realized is that all this propaganda, like, I've kind of realized it in the midst of this conversation,
Yeah.
it focuses on such shallow shit and gets people to just focus on the worst of things, like trying to buy toilet paper over a bunch of different food, that it hurts our society. And one thing, because I know multiple people in this room are dyslexic, like was like 3 or 4 of you guys. I know I'm one of them. Most people don't know this, but that
I'm one.
whole trans propaganda thing completely overshadowed something that's actually a bigger issue in our society, and it's what I call the sleeper dyslexic issue. Did you know that dyslexics in general, roughly between 15 to 20% of our community, maybe more in America, 3 studies done to see how much of them try to self-delete, attempt self-deletion, and it's actually greater than the trans people.
Wow.
Trans is what they say 40%. Dyslexics on the low end is 42%. In the medium end is like 46%. And on the high end is over 50%. Over
James,
50%.
That's because dyslexics.
Feel more.
That's because dyslexics aren't taught how to cope with it. In school, you're taught you're either lazy, you can't read, you're stupid.
A lot of
But
that,
when they
yeah.
test you, they can't figure out what's wrong with you, so they throw you out to the wayside. For
Yep.
me, I got lucky because in high school, I had a geometry teacher go up and demand that I get tested for something because she's like, I've never had a student work so hard to fail. I was harassing her before school, after school, during lunch, and during her office hours. And I was still
Yeah.
failing. But
Wow.
on top of that, it wasn't just dyslexia. There was another problem that went completely unnoticed because kids today are overdiagnosed with ADHD. A lot of people don't realize that those who are truly ADHD, there's actually separate subcategories where I have
ADHD and ADD.
inattentive ADHD, which is one.
Yeah.
ADD,
Well, I'm not
but my
surprised.
level is so critical that
Mhm. And I'll
it's
be
one of
honest-
the arguments that say autism and ADHD should be diagnosed in the same person because they overlap. But
Yeah.
the problem is they
Yes.
don't diagnose it. So you combine that with dyslexia and dysgraphia, you just feel
Mhm.
like a complete moron because you're so much slower than the rest of your class.
Yet everybody
And
else will come
believe
up
it's
to you and say,
unfortunately-
but you're so bright, you're just not applying yourself.
And you know, here's an interesting thing: is there's a lot of overlapping between a lot of mental, I guess, for the sake of lack of a better word, mental conditions and dyslexia. 60% of dyslexics have ADD or ADHD. 60% of them. And here's also a very terrible statistic. And if you're dyslexic, chances are every single dyslexic in this room has self-hurt themselves, like self-harmed at least once. Because up to 80% of all dyslexics do hurt themselves by the time they're 18 years old. 80%.
Everybody's gonna
I'll
be doing
have to
something.
be
Well,
wrong.
yes, that's because everybody assumes that they're lazy or stupid stupid when they are trying their best to do it.
And
I mean,
and they
I had
feel
to
more.
teach my. I mean,
I'll have
Most
to
people don't know
agree
the
with
this,
only
like-
way I was able to
Yeah.
physically learn how to read was via comic books, via
Yeah.
Shel Stevenstein's freaking poems, where it broke up the wording so it wasn't so overwhelming.
That's
But
why
I
we
had
need more
third
good
grade
comic
teacher
books.
purposely calling on me to read in front of class because I was slow at reading. She thought it was helping me, but she didn't realize that the words were jumping around on the page for me. The letters would move. She didn't understand that at all.
I think Kikomon's been trying to say something for a while. What's up, Kikomon?
Sorry.
If you're finding yourself a self-diagnosis of some certain disease or inability, I do
Mhm.
not buy it.
Oh yeah, it's not self-diagnosed. That much I can tell you, because
No,
I say that
it's
as somebody
not
who
Subjective.
diagnosed
You've
or
seen
not.
it. It's
No, no,
repeated
no.
through other people.
it's ridiculously stupid
It
repeated,
doesn't
which is
matter.
surprising.
No,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's repeated by other people or a medical
Mhm.
doctor. You are you. Be you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like, I don't. For me, this is for me being a dyslexic is a portion of my identity and maybe a big portion, but it's not an optional.
No. It shouldn't be any portion of your identity.
No, I
You're
say that
you.
because it is, whether I like it or not, because for a long time I didn't look into it till like only a couple years ago, then I did, and it's almost like seeing just a description of your damn self and every issue you had.
That's
And
weird.
a lot of
I
dumbasses
don't buy
use it and say, "Oh, look, now I have the crutch to blame everything on." For me, it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's not a crutch. This is just a piece of information to get over my what I consider my bullshit. I
Yeah,
got to
you
get over
understand
my
yourself.
bullshit.
You guys
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
see that Family Guy
Understanding.
episode where Peter Griffin was diagnosed as mentally retarded, and he goes, "This means I could get away with anything I want."
Oh gosh, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that think that, that they do, and it's a terrible thing, but because
Well,
it's not.
yeah, first of all, who the fuck diagnoses that? Who the fuck came up with that term?
A psychiatrist, I imagine.
Well, looking at,
Well, fuck those psychiatrists. You're human beings. You're normal people.
yeah.
Yeah, you have your
Normal. I resent that remark.
Well,
Kiko, man, when's the last time you've seen a psychiatrist? Not sure a psychiatrist would have a field day with you.
I will see
yeah,
a psychiatrist before I'll see a psychiatrist.
The difference is like a dyslexic. We have a completely different brain chemistry. That's what makes us different. in the
Well,
different
no.
Wired
portion.
differently.
No,
Yeah, it's
we're
all about your wiring.
different. We're all
Yeah.
different. We all have our quirks. But who is to say that a psychiatrist or a
Mhm.
psychologist can say what is normal? We're all human beings. We all have our issues. We all have our problems. Our personalities are a bit different.
Uh-huh.
There's no normal. We're all ourselves. I'm a bit hyper. I cannot concentrate too much. Well, fuck, that's normal. Yeah, some people can concentrate, some people cannot. That's normal.
Yeah, but Kiko, man, when you read a book, are the words moving around on you when you're sober?
No, but I'm drunk all the time. So yeah.
Who cares, right? You're tell
it
you
makes
what, you're
sense
an
to be
honorary
drunk.
dyslexic then. Yeah.
He's been
Well, you
hitting
see
the
the
soy
difference, well-
and the sauce.
Because a
Oh, Maji,
dyslexic
try getting
brain.
drunk and reading. Maybe it'll counteract
Oh,
it.
gosh.
Maybe everything goes solid. Who knows?
No, but
Yeah,
still,
'cause-
what does
The
it
world does
matter?
not need me drunk.
Well, it matters because, like I've been trying to say, dyslexic's brain chemistry is so different. Our processes and how we think, it's like most people's processes happen in the frontal cortex, usually on the left side of the brain. Dyslexics are towards the center cortex in the middle side of the brain, where your emotions are
Left side of
regulated.
your brain, right side of your brain, bullshit crap.
No, there is a
It's not
big
bullshit,
difference.
dude. That's
Well,
actually
Kiko,
works.
here's
Your left
where
side's memory, your
here's
right
where
side's
it
creative.
matters.
I could actually, if you had your camera on and you started telling me a story, like if I'm recalling a memory, I'm gonna go like that. You'll see my eyes go up to the left. Sorry if that's a little loud. And if I'm creating something, you'll see my eyes go up to the right.
James.
So that's how you know someone's lying is because they're creating a lie. They're fabricating something. So you can see their eyes move that direction. You can't help that. That is subconscious, like body language. You'll just do it
Part-
because your brain
part of
is
the limbic
wired
system.
that way. You need to access memory, you go left. You need to create something, you go right. Left, right hemispheres. I know it's
But-
bullshit to you, Kiko Man, but it's
But
it's a fact.
Kiko, here's
That-
where really the rubber meets the road on it. Here's why it matters. If your mind is hardwired to operate in a different way, and you keep expecting it to operate in a way that it's not meant to operate, you're going to end up thinking yourself an idiot. You're going to go through life and become more and more down in yourself.
No,
And
Well,
and
Wrangler,
by understanding this, go, okay, then you know to look for new ways where you can operate properly instead
Yep.
of expecting of yourself that which you cannot produce and getting just bummed out all the time.
so
So
Wrangler,
yes, learning these things matters.
so Wrangler, even in my workplace where I'm an engineer, I'm being viewed as way too logical while I'm at work. I can never ever produce anything what James does, like his creative work or anything like that. I don't have that ability. You can call that a fault on James' side of being ADHD or whatever, or you can call it a fault on my end for being too logical and too black and white on shit. But I don't see that as a negative or a positive.
I see what you're getting at, and,
No, it
and yeah,
balances it out.
you're right. But when
But it's more than just what
you're
we're
expecting
trained to
of
do.
yourself to keep up in areas where you thought you should be able to, but you learn, oh, here's why
Yeah.
you're not. So
Let
maybe
me
let's
put
find
it
what
this
you
way.
can do. That is a huge help.
So
There are actually things, believe it or not, Kikomon, there are things you're capable of doing because of your brain chemistry that I can't. For instance, dyslexics can't think in words. We can only
So-
think in
So
pictures. And
James,
there's a difference there.
assign me my disease. for
I don't
being
know what
too
your
logical.
disease is. I only know myself because I've been exploring myself my entire life, and I only speak
It's
for myself
soyism.
and of myself.
So is it
No,
a disease or superpower?
So because I'm too logical, and people have blamed me for this, and I've got negative reviews at work for being too logical and too black and white, and I see that as a fault in me because I'm way to the logical side. But nobody ever assigned a free
Mhm.
character.
Well, nobody
It's-
ever it was assigned to me, but I went looking for the answers to make sure it was correct. And as it was nobody else's responsibility but my own in the end. And even then, I had to approach it from a healthy way of looking at it. I can't assign you shit because I have never been in the damn room with you, sat down with you, nor am to have all that information before me. And even then, you should question the fuck out of it because it's coming from somebody else.
Well, yeah.
Mine, once again, I'm not talking about anybody's experience, but my own life, what I've seen, and
No,
how
sure,
these crazy
James.
amount of
I'm not saying anything about you, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying I'm way to the logical side. Nobody ever
Uh-huh.
assigned names to me. You're on more of the creative side, which I cannot even fathom to understand.
Fathom yet?
Yes, you
Kiko
can.
Man, you
If
never
you're
played an
logical, you're
instrument, huh?
creative. That's why
Have
I
you ever
tell
played an
people if you're
instrument?
logical, you're creative.
Kiko
He's
Man, have
very-
you-
you
That's
know
how
he
he's able
reminds
to
me of?
come up.
He's
design
very
the
Sherlock
machines.
Holmes. Kikomon, you're very Sherlock Holmes. If you ever read Sherlock Holmes, you really remind me a lot of Sherlock Holmes.
I've heard about the name, never heard of, never read it.
It's a great book about a
Oh,
expert
like best
detective.
detective novels.
And he
Detective
hated
Rainbow.
basically anything that wasn't useful, particularly the arts. And he said, "I'm not that artistic at all. It's not worthy or useful." Very great character you remind me of. You should check him
Sure,
out. You'd love him.
but you can now assign an acronym,
Mhm.
a free alphabetical acronym to my status and call me as a defective because
Well, if we're going based off of just that, how about we go ahead and get you a CAT scan? We go ahead and check out your brain chemistry looks like.
Right.
We go ahead and do an entire
Run some
mental
tests.
health background.
No, all I'm saying is don't assign to yourself those.
I'm not. This
labels.
is something I've been years looking into. Like I had to other people tried to assign it to me and I didn't accept it. And I went out there and they're not 100% wrong, although they were wrong about other things. Trust me, plenty of other things. Because according to them, I'd be a straight up retard.
I got it. This is how the world works. So we'll take classic Star Trek for example. I know Kikomon's not really a fan, but the classic Star Trek invented the tablet and Spock's cell phone. The creative minds thought, "Hey, this could be a real thing." but they lack the intelligence to make it real. Kikomon's corner of the world and how they think said, hey, that's not a bad idea. Let's make it logically physical happen. So the world,
It's
I
created
get
in two
it. So
different
the
ways.
world needs creative minds, but they also need minds to ground it and figure out a way to make it physical.
No, but my point is that I would never name somebody
Uh-huh.
with like
Dyslexic. It's just it's an accepted term. I mean, it's just the term
shouldn't
for
be
a
accepted.
condition. They
An
can name it.
alternate brain chemistry is
Yeah,
ultimately
you
what
could
it means.
call it whatever
have,
you want, dude. It's
You
just
have
a
this
label.
brain chemistry.
It's just the best way to describe that setup that he's going on. Like depression for me, major depressive disorder. You don't believe that's a thing, but guess what? I did the same thing as James, a lot of self-reflective, and I'm like, started to accept the facts. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Looking back on my life, the way I act, the way I kind of isolate, and I get quick to anger, quick to hate, and stuff like that.
Sure, you can get depressed and you can be
Yeah, you can get depressed, but I have depression. Here's a good one. If you Google how many times men cry per year, how many times do you think men cry per year?
Couple
In my
dozen.
case,
Depends on the man.
It definitely depends on the man, but Google says at least 6 times. They say like 6 times a year. For me, it's more like 50.
for me,
So
it's
it's at-
like once,
Yeah, like
in
once a
2
week.
years.
Yeah. No.
But
I've
but-
gone
but-
years
but-
straight without crying at all, and then I've had years where I've cried almost every day. So it
No,
depends on state of mind.
Well,
Just said.
but what?
Easily,
why do we,
it's easily triggered.
Why do
you
you
know.
need to put yourself in a certain category, though?
Yeah,
Or-
I
It's this
think
way. It's
Because
because
it
it allows
can't
you to
escape it.
understand it. It's a matter of understanding, Kiko, man. If you can't
It's a
like
fair
put it
force
into a
of
category
nature.
and understand it, you
No,
never will.
truly, I
It'll always be
understand
this
you.
abstract idea.
If you
Well-
cry 50 times a year, I understand you as a person. You don't need a free letter alphabet.
No, I don't. I
assigned
rarely ever. I don't really call myself major depressive disorder. I just say, okay, that explains a little bit of what's going on
Oh,
with my
sure, you have your
environment.
own issues.
And from there, I can address myself. So when I start getting, it's stress triggered. So too much stress will put me down that route of self-hate and loathing and suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, the negativity. And now it's awareness. I'm aware why I'm doing that. And I
however,
never was
we
aware. I
might
thought I was just
we
doing it.
might be overlooking Kiko's main point. If I'm not mistaken, Kiko, is your whole point pretty much whether it's real or not, it shouldn't matter not to let this diagnosis or label
Exactly.
limit
Exactly.
what you're
Right.
trying to accomplish.
Which we all agree on. I think we should all agree on. Anybody who doesn't, whatever.
Like if I start crying 100 times a year, I don't want a label associated to me. I cry because I feel like crying 100 times a year. That's me. That's me as a person. That's how I was created. Blah blah blah. If I don't cry ever, even for my mom or for my daughter or whatever, I don't need a free letter alphabet attachment to my quote unquote disorder. I am me.
Yeah, it helps with the employment
It's
though.
not that it's.
So say you didn't go to work for 3 days because those 3 days you spent crying. You expect to still have that job?
No, but
No.
that's my issue. But I don't need some sort of a
But
medical condition.
But what if you didn't know why you were crying?
Okay,
Like,
Like
here
to me,
I
it
got
comes
an
down to the
example, a real-
origin of
real-
it.
Go ahead, Magic. Sorry, I know you have a leg.
No, you're good. You're good. I was the only one in my high school graduating class out of like 300 to go on to college with an IEP, individual learning plan, basically, because of the fact that I am dyslexic and all that fun jazz. But I graduated college. Here's the problem: because I am dyslexic and all sorts of things. I still went to college. A lot of people are like, probably not the best idea, especially since I majored in biology. I had to retake trigonometry 3 times. It wasn't because, I wasn't understanding it, but when the numbers and letters jump around in your mind, obviously sitting down and working out a math problem is not going to be easy.
Formula math.
Okay,
I
Maggie.
acknowledge I failed at 3 times. I had to 3 times. But like you said, I didn't let it define me. I eventually got through it, graduated. I have a biology degree. Yes, I work retail, but that's totally different system. But the problem, but I get what you're saying. I don't let it define me, but occasionally I run into problems where I'm going to hit a wall and I have to work around it.
Sure, Maggie, but I'm sure that you had other skill sets
That's a dumb reason.
that were way better.
Oh yeah. And it's honestly the best way I could define it, I think, in a way we could all understand it, is it's like being born as a ranger and wishing you were a paladin. Sorry, you're not going to be able to wield that shield there, pal. Here's a bow. You're really great with this freaking bow. Like, nobody can shoot this bow like you can. Put down the mace, though. Because, like, one thing, like, I keep on going towards the different brain chemistry. A big one is your average person who's not dyslexic, they can think in words. A dyslexic can't. They think in pictures. What makes this difficult for dyslexic is somebody who can think in words, they could understand what's called shallow learning, which is essentially, let me show you how to do something by showing you the very minimum, and then you can repeat this skill or whatever. Dyslexic can't do that because they're thinking in pictures. So you're trying to introduce them to something they never seen before, they never interacted with before, they never done anything with before. So their mind is trying to draw something that they have no idea what it looks like. So it's literally like you're coming up with nothing and nothing and nothing. Yeah, give me a sec.
I passed
One thing
human
that
anatomy and physiology.
what was that?
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
How I
let me-
passed anatomy and physiology, because obviously looking at all these words and stuff of the outline of a human, I actually took a Halloween skeleton that you could buy for a yard, and I took markers, waterproof markers, and I outlined the different intersects and origins of the ligaments on the skeleton, the skeletal plates, and what their names were. I made a physical representation of my sketchbook on this Halloween decoration. His name was George. I actually was best friends with him for a solid year, and I used him as my study guide. That was the only way I could pass anatomy and physiology. And even then, like when I was doing the lab practicals and stuff, I would still get things wrong because I would say, oh, hey, that's loose aortic connective tissue. And then I'd accidentally misspell loose. So I would get docked for it because the loose with the O's were confusing.
That's dumb, because you still understood what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Trippy and Maggie, you guys think of me as an engineer right now, but just so you know, I've been kicked out of high school at 10th grade because I was such a trouble student, couldn't do shit. Eventually, I got back into school through a GDA program. I got technical college skills through it, and eventually I got a bachelor's degree. But if you look at it from just the educational stuff or how you're being monitored or what's the standard, yeah, I flunked. I was working a job without any high school diploma. I was, like I said, at 10th grade, I was kicked out.
Mhm.
I sucked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more for my laziness, but not for my issues. But still, somehow I'm an engineer right now.
Yeah, you
How's
found
that?
your strength.
Because you found your path.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, because I decided to change my mind and worldview. But at least in my view.
No, that's good. You should be able to. You're going to change your mind a lot. You'll find.
Yeah, and
a lot of people
one
want to
thing-
have this rigid idea stuff, but over time, like with this COVID thing, like the people with the masks, like you said earlier, you saw the people that were so adamant about wearing masks. Now they're not. Well, they changed their mind about it.
Right.
Yeah, and one thing I was leaning towards is, there are upsides to being dyslexic. Like you said, you're much more creative, extremely fucking creative. In fact, 40% of all
I can read
self-made
upside down
millionaires
and
are
backwards.
dyslexic. And we may suck at shallow learning, but we're really actually great at in-depth learning, which is why often
Which is why we're so
dyslexics
many of
make
us are nerds.
nerds and become experts in various fields and things like that and go really, really deep, because you can't show us the simple shit how to work at McDonald's. But if you can get us interested in something and break it down, you can give us some of the most complex things.
And
Right.
we
We're
will
interested.
go at it obsessively. Like
Yeah,
we can't
obsessively.
stop. That's
So-
why we know so much lore about things.
Oh man, I don't.
But
Let's see if
all-
I can remember this off. I have a little chain of like command here where it starts as thoughts, which come from ideas, which starts as a concept, which came from a reason, which started as a source, like an inspiration. You hang out on the inspiration, the source, and underneath those reasons, you got to understand the reasons and stuff. A lot of people like to hang out in the thoughts. They know this thing, they know these ideas, they know the concepts because it was repeated. They never drop down to understanding the reasons. You understand reasons. You have to.
But
You're wired for it.
what
Yeah, I don't-
honestly just annoys me is just these excuses of, oh, I
Yeah,
have
the
this
excuse.
issue XYZ. Oh, I'm autistic. I cannot do anything. Well, fuck
Yeah,
you.
the-
No, you
Mhm.
yeah, even as an autist, you can make a
Fuck
living.
yeah, dude. See, to me, it only shows me what my weaknesses are and allows me to play by my strengths even fucking harder and also make up for my weaknesses. I suck at this. Maybe I can suck at it a little less,
Right.
little less, little less. Focus more here. I'm strong in these regards. Focus a little less on what I'm strong at, more on what I'm weak at. Lean on what I'm, But there's a lot of people out there. Doesn't matter what they got. They're either just mentally broken or looking for an excuse, and they
Absolutely.
love the fact that they're X, Y, or Z. They love it. They love it. And I'll be honest, those people freak me out. They creep me
Dude,
out because they're
there's-
beyond broken.
There's one on my Writers Guild. Like you go on my Gilded Writer Society. I left
They're
everything
defined by
listed
what's
there.
wrong with them. They're defined by what's wrong with them. It's disgusting.
He says he's Asperger's. He says he's aware of Asperger's, but he hasn't worked on himself for it. So that's good. Step one, he's aware of it, but he's in that other camp where now you have to deal with me because I have this, and that's the reason why I don't have to work, and that's the reason
That's
why
the
I get to
trans
be
argument.
disabled.
That's the whack trans argument right there. Is like,
Mhm.
everybody's got to give in to my to what I want to be reality, and you got to go
Yeah.
with it.
And he comes off as like just this nice kid, but then once that stress triggers him, all hate, anger, hate, rage, anger, hate. Like
Yikes.
he made threats to our Black Knight on my
Why?
guide for Gilded, because he just didn't like him. Because like one of the first
Is he German?
things, well, it had to do with communism. So this guy is from Canada, and he's all about socialism because, well, he's on the system. He needs it. He's on disability because he thinks he needs it. So
Fucking
it's
commune.
you can just see this, like, dude, his reading, what he posted. Kiko Man saw a bit of it. That
Yep.
Gadgeteer guy, Kiko Man,
Mhm.
like a little bit of that reading, the writing. You could just see this broken mind, this tortured soul that he is. It just translates. It's right there, and he's not aware of it. He doesn't know because
But
he hasn't done the work.
But he also hides behind this condition instead of being laughed at.
Yeah, he's
Or
definitely he
fighting.
doesn't want to fight it. He's not a fighter. And that's the thing. When you're like depression, dyslexia, and you start seeing like what the fuck is going on. Everyone seems to have it so easy. Why is life so fucking hard for me? This doesn't make sense. Then you start having this, okay, this is why. And then you have to go through the steps and, well, basically fight. And it's a never ending battle. I mean, you're wired this way. I'm wired for depression. It'll always trigger. It will never, ever end. But I know how to fight it. I know the skills. I have the skills now.
But I
And
see
that-
your point there too, Kiko Man, not to use it as an excuse. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I reached a point where I thought, oh, because of this, I will never be able to accomplish that. And I let that rule my thoughts for a few years straight.
Dude, I'm doing this
and
right
it brought
now.
me to a point of really bad places.
Mhm.
So yes, you're right about that. You can't let the label define you. but you can let it give you an idea that maybe there's a bit of a different path towards the goals.
Right.
And this obvious one isn't the one for you. This one over here, no one ever thinks of. Well, that's what you're going to do best that no one else can do.
Like frequency, I'll admit right now, I'm a fucking alcoholic. I know it's an issue, but it's my issue. I'm not having the alcoholic title defend me from doing bullshit. If I do bullshit while I'm an alcoholic, it's my fault.
Because you're man enough to own your shit.
Yeah. Still, I'm still a beta male for being an alcoholic, but I will not defend myself via
That's one
alcohol.
thing. This might be a little bit of a tangent. It's like I never really understood the whole beta male thing because, like, isn't the beta male supposed to be like your freaking mini boss you got to defeat before you get to the real boss? Like, he's Mr. Number 2. When the other guy's gone, he's the one holding down the fort. When the other guy had the chicks, all the chicks rushed to him. Isn't that
No,
what?
to me, a beta male is just a person who's faking it, who's always being weak, trying to appear weak for sympathy, and that's pretty much it. But
Yeah, I don't know where this whole beta thing started too, but basically they're just thinking opposite of alpha. So if
Yeah.
alpha's strong,
I think they
they're
actually
weak.
have a male for it. Isn't it like the Omega male or the something male, the Sigma male?
Sigma. Yeah,
Isn't it Sigma?
Sigma. Trust me.
Is
I know
the
what those
Have you
actual-
ever heard of
what-
Ligma?
Ligma? Are you a Ligma male?
Welcome back, Billy Sack.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
This
that's
is so
you know.
fucking awful.
Ligma balls.
And you know what? I bet the people
There's
with a lot
like
of those
4 or
emotional
5
issues.
description of guys, and then there's 2 for girls. It's smoking hot or Duff.
That's not wholly true. Once you start really looking, talking to guys. There's actually this one I heard that's kind of interesting, and it's called Cute Ugly. You guys ever hear that? Cute Ugly?
No,
Where she's kind of cute but kind of ugly.
no.
Yeah.
I've heard of a butterface though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
heard
everything
of a
looks good
moped.
butterface. Fun to ride, just don't let your friends know about it.
Yeah.
This is what my friend
Oh,
used to say.
jeez.
And he used to say, if she's pretty with makeup on, she's ugly without.
Maybe that's why I'm always drawn to women that don't wear makeup.
Yep.
I have to
exactly
see
what
him.
you meant.
I have to see him without the makeup first before I try. I've been there one too many times, boys. Like it's an art form. Makeup is truly an art form.
I guess so. In general, not all the time, but in general, I tend to
Yeah.
find makeup to be a bit of a turnoff because it's like you
I
have this beautiful natural face and you're covering it up. Don't do
Not to
that.
mention
Yeah, I
that
think
it's
it
just
depends on
bad
how
for your
much
skin.
makeup.
I can't. The reason why they look so women age so badly is because of that makeup. I bet you if they didn't put on foundation for 50 plus years of their lives, its pores would be more open.
I
Healthier
don't
skin.
remember.
I don't know about you guys, but makeup is really makes me sweat, and it's just gross. And yeah, I hate wearing it. I only wear it when I have to.
don't.
Well, it hasn't done that to me, probably due to the fact that I don't have it all over my face.
I dated
Holy-
maybe 5 to 6 girls before I got married, and my rule was if you wear makeup, I'm not dating you.
I never wore makeup, so that's out of my realm.
Hella
Well, then
expensive.
again, there have
Look,
been a
James,
couple
you asked the
Halloweens.
chance.
Well, James, I wouldn't date you either. But
Yeah, well, neither would I date you. You know.
Makeup is hella expensive. So for a freaking eyeliner
It
pencil that
is.
would only last about maybe 20 uses, you're spending $11 for.
That's ridiculous. I'm telling you, this makeup thing is a scam.
And then
It's
if you
scam.
if you freaking break out like I do when you're wearing makeup, or it gets just like really sweaty and runs down your face, you have to buy the special like mineral powder and stuff, and that's $20 for an eyeliner. And it's just like, serious?
Maji,
I wear Dr. Squatch.
So
I almost broke up.
I only
with my
wear
wife.
it for interviews or special occasions. I hate to admit it, but I am an all natural.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, don't. You should love to admit that.
Maggie, I almost broke up with my wife because she got her ears pierced while we were dating.
I had them pierced when I was a kid, but I stopped wearing earrings. It was such a hassle. Because, you never know when they were going to snag on something. You never knew.
Ouch.
You have to be careful when your ears are pierced, especially if you have long hair. Because, like,
Mhm.
sometimes you'll accidentally pull on your earring or, like, taking on and off a hoodie and stuff like that. It just... Yeah.
What do they do? Snag and everything like a fishing lure?
It felt like it, but granted, when I had my ears pierced, I was also a kid because I got them pierced when I was like 8, and 8-year-olds don't really properly take care of anything. So
One thing I,
I
never
just
could
took them out
understand.
when I was about 10 and called it good.
I never understood the chicks that wear those giant earrings that are just gigantic rings. You feel like
Oops.
you put your hand through. I never understood that.
Actually, I always thought
Well,
they
if you
were a
look at
cool
their
look. Very unnecessary, but a
earlobes,
cool
those
look.
pull on their earlobes.
It looks like they do. They look heavy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how you can
Because they
tell.
are
Look at their
heavy.
earlobes. By wearing those hoops, they usually stretch out their hole, so they have to go to a bigger size in terms of the width of the jewelry. And that's the beginning's process of gauging, actually.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say.
Are you
It's
talking
bigger
about
and bigger.
gauges or hoops?
Oops.
The
He's talking
hoops,
about
they'll
hoops.
start pulling on the ring, so you have to get a thicker back to them eventually, because the
They'll
thin
just get
backs
bigger
won't
and bigger.
anymore.
Just have to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah. That's incorrect.
So
That's
I
Get a
honestly
brace
think that's
for
why
your
the hoops
earlobe?
get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, makes sense.
Man,
It's because
modern
this
day
cute little
fashion trends
studs
suck.
won't stay in after a certain point wearing those suckers. You have to get the thicker back.
Any of you have tattoos?
Nope.
No,
None? Nobody.
I got plenty
I
of
don't have any
scars.
either.
I told myself, with this many scars, why need a tattoo? There's better stories here.
There you go.
My
Have you
grandma
guys ever
got-
heard the song Tattoos and Scars by Montgomery Gentry?
I haven't.
You might want to check that
Oh,
out
yeah.
sometime. That's such a cool tune.
Tattoos and scars. All right. There's more of a Warren Zevon
All right,
guy.
here's the thing. My dad got my mom's name tattooed on his chest and a heart, right? Well, he
Uh-huh.
cheated on her. Divorce happened, so he got the name changed to the other person's name instead of my mom's name. Well, that fell through too, so he filled in the name with a flat out black strip. So it's a heart with a black ribbon through it. So just word of advice on that: don't do someone's name.
Oh, no, you can. So actually, my stepbrother has your name tattooed on his butt, believe it or not. And he'll go
Maji
anywhere and
Chan?
he'll bet that he has your name tattooed on his butt. And he'll win that bet every time because he has your name tattooed on his butt.
Oh, I get it.
That's funny.
Well, it was better than the one Kelsey Grammer got in down Periscope.
I
didn't
remember
see
that
that
one. That's a good one. It was on his penis.
Yeah, family friendly is long gone at this point, but it's well after 10 o'clock at night here, so I guess it don't matter.
Nah,
Right.
yeah. I think it's only, let's see, 2 people watching. One of them's me.
Yeah,
We're live
and,
now.
and actually this went on a lot longer than I was originally planning for this
Another
to just be an hour, and then because I
Yeah,
wanted to wrap it
Royce.
up after an hour and go watch Royce's stream, but he's not doing the
Because
stream
Royce,
tonight.
blame Royce for this one.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Sure. Quarter of his audience is over here.
Well,
Royce has no balls.
You seen it.
And this brings us back to Brawlhalla once
he's
again.
just chilling with them.
All right.
No, he put out like a 45-minute video a little while ago, though.
Really? That's a long video. What do you talk about?
Oh, he went back to Pokemon or whatever her name is.
Oh, Pokimane. I keep on like hearing these, like you keep on hearing this younger generation of creators or whatever personalities online, and they're essentially like they need to rediscover the reasons why we did things. Like they don't freaking get it. It's like, oh, you're gonna just go in the giant circle and realize the reason why we just allow everybody to say whatever the fuck they want is because every other alternative is worse.
Yep.
Well, part of the problem, I think, with that, if you
Right.
watch the younger channels, is because Hollywood is so thought process empty. Like they have hit a wall in terms of creativity. The younger generation doesn't really have much creativity itself either. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. When we were kids, how many of us were out playing Power Rangers in the yard or doing all sorts of stuff? I used to pretend I was a freaking X-Men or Transformer when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, Transform.
now for them, it's become
I used to
so
pretend I was Luke
mundane and
Skywalker.
become so glued to the screen. Exactly. But we had imaginations. The imagination is gone. There is none anymore.
Do you think
There's no art,
part-
there's no creativity.
Do you think part of the reason some of that imagination has been lost is because they don't go out and play anymore?
Socialize in a different way.
Yeah, I think
They're
that's
all
exactly
on
what it
video
is.
games.
Well, yeah, you're definitely the social interaction between a screen is a lot different, especially when it comes to the consequences. You can say whatever you want and not get shoved by the other kid because of what you said. You know, you could be a complete jerk if you really wanted to, because there's no consequence on here. It lets you be a bully, and you can't do that ever in social settings. Well, you were supposed to. You did that as a toddler, like 3, 4, 5. That's when you were all doing that, and you got shoved around, and you kind of learned how to socialize. Not doing that so much anymore. They don't go out and play like that. They don't just socialize and play house in the field. You know, they're all behind a screen somewhere, safe and sound.
That's why I kind of considered it Gen X and Millennials / Gen Y to almost be one large generation, because up until that time you had the boomers. They grew up in the industrial age. Gen X and Millennials, we grew up watching the world go from the industrial age to the electronic age. And then Gen Z and on, they know nothing but the electronic age. So we kind of, Gen X and Gen Y, we kind of have that similar outlook on life, that similar, that shared pop culture between those two generations.
I
The-
don't know if I can associate with you as much, but when I was growing up in Israel, I used to punch gay guys in the face just because they were gay. And transgender was not even normal.
You were in a completely different culture then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sounds like Texas.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Kiko, all right, if I go over your quick synopsis of your life, Kiko.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he was born in Russia. Then he did most of his growing up in Israel before he came to the U.S. So he knows, how many languages do you know, Kiko?
3.
Yeah, 3 languages. Each language has a different culture attached. So he's been around the world and experienced some different cultures. So he's going to have an outlook that has some very different approaches to things than the rest of us, which is what makes having you here so interesting, because it gives us a big contrast to what we're saying. So we get to see these different
And to be
approaches.
clear, I was a bully at school, and I was kicked out of high school at 10th grade.
Because you're a bully, or
Yep.
because of bad grades?
Both.
Yeah, he went for the high score.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. that's a good thing. No, so I imagine the adversity the kids that you bullied probably hated you at the time. I know for the longest time I hated fucking being bullying and stuff like that.
No,
We're
so
doing a lot of, hold on, Kiko. Let me get to my point, Kiko, man. We're
No,
on this whole
Kippy,
big
that's
spiel about
very different.
cyberbullying now, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Adversity builds character. As an adult, I'm actually kind of glad I was bullied, because guess what? I can handle it. I can handle in construction being surrounded by a bunch of hard asses that just kind of like talk shit to you all day, you got to be able to handle it. You got to be able to just take it. You got to know what bullying is. It's not really bullying. It's just like, I'm just giving you shit, you know? There's kind of a difference. Kids.
Trippy, it was a bit different because we had three distinct racial
Ethnicities.
characters. So we had Moroccans, people from Morocco, we had people from Eastern Europe, and we had people from Western Europe. So there's like almost like three gangster families, you can call them. So it's not exactly like the US, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's not. U.S. is not xenophobic compared to a lot of the rest of the world. That, believe it or not, a lot of like French.
A bit too friendly to
French,
communists.
love the French. If you're not French and you're in France, guess what? You suck. You know, that's just the way it is. In America, we're just a melting pot. We never really had that mentality. It's
Well,
like, all right,
Israel was a melting
in
pot too.
Japan, if you walk into stores, they'll throw you out if you're not Japanese.
Yep.
Yeah.
In
Very-
Japan, you cannot
They're
even go to
always-
certain areas if you're not Japanese.
that never would have worked in the States. It's too diverse here. You can't be like that here. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work because all the races are here. Everyone came here. It was the land of the free. It was set up this way for that reason.
No, so in Israel, you had three distinct groups. You had Western Europeans, Eastern Europeans, and Moroccans. They all fought with each other.
Yeah, because they all just hate each other. You're all just used to your own your own
They
people.
all hate each other. Yep.
Xenophobic.
Uh,
That's what it's called.
Xenophobic?
Xenophobic. It's kind of like a
No,
because-
everyone in Israel was an immigrant. You couldn't be a xenophobe.
Well, all I know is when I was growing up, people of different ethnicities, for the most part, didn't have a problem with each other. People of, shall we say, different lifestyles, while it wasn't really widely accepted like now, when people found out, they're like, hey, that's just the way he is. He's still the same guy, you know. And for the most part, in the social circles, people were just people. I've never seen such a divide amongst identity or ethnicity or anything like I do now.
Mhm.
And so it's like we went from not having this problem to someone saying, hey, it's a problem, and turning it into one. So
No,
That's-
in
yep.
Israel,
like, even
it
now,
was-
you
That
turn
would
on
be
an old
nice.
show from the 70s, you will see a different world where you will see diversity in many different ways, but it's never brought up or saying, hey, look how diverse. No, it just was.
Yeah.
It already was what they say they want to make. And in the process of wanting to make it, they are unmaking it.
My mom's been horrified at all the undoing of what they went through.
In which regards?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people went through a lot of stuff, and we overcame a lot of things that are in threat or being undone in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, so she lived through the 60s, and so all the changes and crap that they went through in the 60s to get rid of a lot of the garbage stuff. And she's like, now they're bringing it all back. They're trying to bring it all back and go through the things that we got rid of.
Pretty much. In a weird way, too. A very, very weird way. I have to say. Emphasizing sexuality as identity. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Like, you identify who you are depending on who you fuck. It's a little superficial.
Well, it's a superficial movement, man. It doesn't get that deep, and as soon as you start, trying to go deep, you realize there's nothing that. Because it's cotton.
Yeah, it's all just baseless thoughts. Just a bunch of baseless thoughts and rhetoric and catchphrases and misunderstandings. that they're just-
Propaganda. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda and used for pushing, just pushing the real motives and things of that nature, which is just to conquer society,
Well, I
demoralize
think it's
it.
more than
They definitely want to affect the children. They want to affect the next generation. They put this emphasis on children because it's easier to build children up, like build a strong man up, than it is to just change a man that's already there.
Mhm.
It's that rigid thinking that I was talking about earlier. It's already locked in. They believe this thing that you're not going to change it. Kids are more fluid. They'll believe whatever, and then you can propaganda influence that mind until they get to adulthood and they lock in those values. And these are some bad values to be locking in.
And they do it through the entertainment industry,
Right.
but that's where we come in.
In school.
Just wait for the freaking feds to
Here,
start
I
popping
think it
up
goes
over here.
deeper than that, though. How
Yep.
many 80s and 90s movies did we grow up where the lesson of the movie was it doesn't matter how rich or successful you are, it matters about your family. It matters about the whole central unit, as we keep going back to. But I mean, even Montgomery Gentry, where something to be proud of, the lyrics of the song
Yeah.
literally says it doesn't matter as long as you have food on the table and you're providing. And they're just this whole identity of, oh hey, I F this person, I F that person. It isn't about that. It is literally, I think, a way to fill in the gap that they don't. It's to get rid of the success of having that family unit. It doesn't matter if it's if it's LGBT, any of that. But I think in all of this is just trying to obliterate that pride in your legacy.
Strangely
Because in
enough,
some
if
way
you-
they feel like failures for their shortcomings.
They want to be in charge of the family unit.
Now, if you go and look at Marvel movies, which one would you say, which franchise under the Marvel movie banner would you say is probably one of the most successful? Guardians of the Galaxy?
Definitely them. They had
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
what-
And what's the primary focus
They
they keep
brought a
going back
no-name
to, and that
group and
it's
made it
family.
one thing.
They see themselves as a family, and that's why I think that's probably one of the best franchises Marvel has going. That family theme is strong.
Ant-Man's really good too. Ant-Man does a family thing, even though with the dynamic between him and his daughter, really good.
I thought so. I agree with you there. Billy Bob Sack, Iron Man.
Yeah, more
But
successful.
that's what I think what it
Mhm.
is they're not trying to weaken necessarily the males. What they're
Oi.
trying to do is make sex the
Nicholas, you
main
mute everyone.
identity so that having family or being part of the family isn't the success. Yes, exactly. Vin Diesel.
Family.
But
Family.
I honestly think that's why they're trying so hard to make sex as shallow as it is as the identity, is to destroy the legacy of the actual true identity of human beings, which is family. We are programmed to have family units. Every culture has a family unit around the world, period. Whether it's small or whether it's large, depending on your culture, that's different. But it comes down to literally a family unit of some kind. And if we didn't have families, for those who don't have families, they make their own families, either with their groups of friends and circles or with the next generation. And I honestly think that's why the sex identity is the way it is to destroy that. Because
And
it's
it's unfortunately
making up
working.
for their lack. It is. And I'm not saying that, a LGBTQ couple aren't a family. They are a family, but they acknowledge it. But it's all going back to that, oh no, it has to be about who I have sex with, not with who I identify with.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out the
Sorry.
reasons why. No, yeah, all good. I have this unique position with family, being that I work for family. My dad is my boss. It's where all of us are like, my sister's a vet, she couldn't do construction too, but I'm sure if she was born a boy, she'd be in the business too. My cousin's there. My uncle, before he was retired, worked for it. My aunt, it was a family business. So I was just pretty much raised, and all I know is family. This is what I work for. It's my life. And it makes me curious. I don't know what it's like not to work with family. Like have, just go off to work for Amazon because your dad didn't set up anything for you. Your parents were just, corporate workers themselves. They weren't business owners. They didn't have that drive. They didn't set up the family right for the child to inherit something to keep the family business going, And it's been like that for the longest time. I mean, it's actually kind of empirical if you think about it. The kings have a son, and that son becomes a king, which has another son, and that son becomes a king, and they're the rulers for all time because, well, family. Problem comes when the family starts fucking each other.
Yeah,
Or try to
well,
kill each other.
But I mean, why is Avatar so successful? One, it looks great. Two, it's centered around the family unit. How many people have you read on the comments of the newest Avatar review where they're like, hey, it's a family movie. It's a good story. It's about a guy wanting to protect his family. Whereas you take Strange New Worlds, it's supposed to be about a family exploring something, but that wasn't what was front and center in Strange New Worlds. What was front and center was all the political bullshit.
Really? I haven't seen any of the reviews
And
on
they
Avatar 2 yet. I need to look them up.
I haven't seen
But
any
yeah,
of those.
Avatar
well, we're at the
2, they
3-hour
made
mark, so
the
I was going
front
to get this wrapped up here in a minute.
You're good.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. All right.
We can continue the conversation on the Gilded. It seems that we have a Billy Bob Sack waiting there for us.
Oh yeah, for sure. After show on the Gilded.
Sure. However,
I may be there eventually.
any final thoughts or plugs that everybody would like to leave before we wrap this up? Start with you, James.
Start with me. Well, you know me. I'm going to definitely plug the one thing everybody has got to check out, and it's going to be the next big IP to hit theaters eventually one day, and that's going to be World Without End. I guarantee you want to get in on this early. You want to become a hipster of World Without End, so that way when your friends start hearing about it in a couple of years, be like, I know this. I know the guy who made this. I talked to him. And then now they can all be your friends. Now your friends can look up to you later on in the future. So become a subscriber to my Substack, because that way you can show it off to your friends in the future. I'm telling you, it's going to be big, and you're going to get that
And
big today.
also your YouTube channel. Are you
And
going to be
YouTube
dropping more
channel,
lore
yes.
videos there?
I've already dropped a lore video today. Short lore videos are 1 minute, rough underneath 1 minute right now. I'm going to come out with longer ones in the future. That's kind of like to work the algorithm, so that way, you can just get more views if they like posting shorts. So I'm posting short lore videos. I'm writing them all myself. They look epic. They're great. I do all the editing on there myself because I am a graphic designer. But please follow my YouTube channel. It's World Without End Lore. At World Without End Lore. You can just follow me there on YouTube and check out my Substack, which is worldwithoutend.substack.com. Much appreciated.
Okay, Maji-chan, any thoughts, ideas, or plugs you want to end off with?
No, I'm good. It was fun.
Quick and easy.
You got to hear me,
Yeah,
Rat.
it was-
Sorry.
It was fun having you here, too. Actually, that's what you were here for. Kikoman, any final thoughts you want to leave with everybody or anything you would like to plug?
Hell yeah. Look up Fight Kikoman on YouTube. It's not my work, but I'm plagiarizing that character, so look it up.
Okay, Trippy.
Stay woke. It's my advice.
Of
Stay
course.
woke. Family is very important. I like Gilded. The Iron Age, I like to think, is a family. We are not just like we're slowly stepping up from just a movement to community to family. I really think we're getting a little close here. Like we're kind of knowing
Well, the
each
way
other.
we
I
all
like
bicker,
it a lot.
yeah.
I really
Fellowship.
like it.
We buy each other
And
shit.
Raven Nevermore.
Yeah, I just have the minds.com/Raven Evermore. I'm thinking about putting together a Substack and copying some of the stuff over from there.
Cool.
Right on.
I'm recently on Minds myself. I had never been on there before, and I like that site. I like the way it's set up. It's pretty cool. I think I'm subscribed to you on Minds, am I?
I think so. Black Knight pointed it out to me, and I started poking around in there, and it looks good.
Yeah, that's how I ended up there the same way, Black Knight.
Same here.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming on. This was an interesting conversation. Hopefully we could do this again next week.
For sure.
The
Right on.
second attempt at the weekly Wing It, and that's kind of what we did. We just came on here and the Wing It,
Indeed.
and it gets interesting.
Okay.
All right, everybody. If you enjoyed this presentation, hit the like. If you didn't, I appreciate you dropping by. See you next time, and God bless.
All right. See ya.